Welcome to another GG33 podcast, and today we're going to talk about one of my favorite subjects, gambling. My name is Gary, GA, gamble starts with GA. You know I'm going to bring you some kind of fucking thing to get you guys all excited about this because we got a real fucking gambler here. You know, I remember once, it was my best run. It was 2001. I went to Atlantic City. Took about 100K with me, right?
Okay.
And I'm not a card player. I'm not doing that baccarat too much, even though that's the best game in the house. I'm doing sports and I'm betting parlays. That's what I'm doing. So I lost that 100K in about a week. And as I was renewing my room, they said, "Oh, you're the guy that lost 100K." I was pissed.
You had to find a way to get it back.
So even the fucking clerk, you know, the hotel clerk knew I lost 100K. So at this point, I'm like, I need to figure out how to get some more money. Anyways, within 2 days, I was able to get another 100K cash, right? Ran those fuckers up for about 1.3 mil. Okay. In about 3 weeks. 3 weeks. Ran them up. One day I'm coming in there to renew my room because it expired. And they're like, "Oh, we're not going to renew your room anymore." Then they told me that I can't make any more bets over, 5,000. At that point, they're like kicking me out, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay. But 1.2 million, bro, I've been patting myself on the back about that, flexing on people for fucking years. All of a sudden, this guy comes in here and he's winning that shit in a day. I mean, I'm not exaggerating here. You actually have won millions in a day, correct?
Yeah, definitely.
And you do that quite routinely.
I'd say about on 60% of days, yeah.
Ooh. So, brother, at this point, tell us who the fuck you are and how the fuck you doing this.
Well, what's up, guys? I'm Sean Perry. I'm a professional gambler.
Is there such a thing?
I mean, well, there's no, job that I'm employed to call myself professional, but it's how I make my money for a living. So,
okay.
In theory, anyone could call himself a professional gambler. But, I mean, I was a third world best poker player back in 2021 at 24 years old with over $7 million in winning. And
have you ever won the World Series of Poker?
So, you know what's crazy about that is, okay, so I'll tell you my story. So growing up, I come from a gambling background. My dad was one of the world's best poker players. He played in Bobby's Room and things like that in top stakes poker games. And my grandma was also a professional poker player. It's actually how my parents met. Was my grandma was playing poker against my dad, and my mom was watching her mom, and they met that way. And so,
well, this shouldn't be shocking at all.
Yeah, right? So I definitely.
I mean, this is how they met. This shouldn't be shocking at all.
I definitely have the gambling in my bloodline. Growing up, I won my first poker tournament at the age of 12 years old. It was actually a charity event, and we did a lot of charity in my family growing up. And my mom had breast cancer, so we had a breast cancer event, like a charity walk. And they had a poker tournament of 300 people. And I was like, I want to play. And they're like, no, you're under 21. And my mom's like, this is a charity event. You should let him in. On top of him paying $200, you should let him in for $20. There's no shot he wins. It's going to charity, right? So I'm playing in this tournament, and it's 4 a.m. now, and I'm heads up. And what's funny is, out of 300 people, the person I'm playing heads up against is my mom. And I'm winning the whole tournament. I won a $5,000.
Hold on. Let's back up here. So we have a charity tournament. And we have you, a 12-year-old.
12 years old.
At the final table against your mother?
Yes. Out of 300 people.
Okay.
It was 4 in the morning.
Were people saying this shit's rigged?
People were so pissed on how this tournament works. It was it was like a sitting go tournament. So basically, to get into the main tournament, you had to win a sitting go. So they basically buy in for $200 a person, and it was a 10-person sitting go, and whoever won that sitting go table, for those viewers that don't know what a sitting go is, it means everyone enters and you play to a winner, and then the winner advances. So the winner would advance to the main tournament. So I won it the first time, my sitting go, and then I'm in the main pool of about 30 people, because I said there was 300 people entered. And there was people that tried the sitting go entry phase for like 10 times and couldn't get in. And they're just wasting money after money after money.
So rebuy after rebuy.
Yeah, and I remember one of the guys was so pissed because he's like in there trying to win the prize, and like it was a sick trip. Like whoever won the tournament got like a private helicopter tour with like a room and everything, and you created your own wine. You got to drink the wine. It was
12 years old, a private.
Yeah.
You're getting high.
Well, I ended up winning the whole thing against my mom, heads up, which is hilarious. I still remember the second I won, I jumped on the poker table and started celebrating and dancing, and like that rush that went through my body was like so surreal.
You still talk shit to her about it?
Oh, all the time.
Of course.
Yeah, I gotta let her know that I'm just 100%. So then what happened is, so like I had that feeling in my body, and I was just like, yo, this is my dream right here. Like I want to feel that all the time.
So that dopamine came out, and you're
rush.
Like, I fucking need this shit.
Yeah, exactly. And so the next year, my bar mitzvah, I was 13 years old. It was poker themed, and I've just basically been gambling ever since. Everyone around me that knew me as a kid knew that I was gonna basically pursue the gambling. My dad was, like I said, one of the best poker players in the world. So when I was like 14, 15.
Was he as successful as you?
Well, he is very successful. Like my dad would play in games where he'd buy in for a couple $100,000.
So he was not as successful as you. Okay.
Well,
here's even though we're talking about gambling, here's one of the things about a man. Your dad's really proud of you, isn't he?
Yeah, he definitely is.
Okay. If a woman has a daughter, and that daughter ends up being better looking than the mom, there's going to be some resentment there. Okay?
Yeah.
But if a man has a son and the son does better than the father, no one is happier than the father. So again, just like Pat Mahomes, or he had a father that was an athlete. He's a much better athlete. So how my father would explain it, because he comes from this world, he's never going to actually sit there and tell me that he's like proud of me or anything. He's always going to be like, hey, I heard all these stories, all these people that gamble, and then they just lose all their money. Because being in the gambling world, you see a lot of people that make it and then go broke time and time again. So, I've seen it over my career as well. So it's like he's never going to be like... Has that ever happened to you?
Absolutely never. Not once.
As a gambler myself, everyone goes through ups and downs.
That has definitely happened to me.
You're telling me you've never went to a downroll spiral, or the motherfuckers hitting that goddamn three-pointer to end to kill the spread, or you have a +1.5 and they have an empty net goal at the very end. You've never had a run where everything's just going wrong.
Just the other day, I lost $4 million in the Super Bowl, but like...
You bet the 49ers?
Yeah.
Was that the first time that Vegas lost money? I think it was 3 out of 30 times that Vegas lost money, because everyone was betting Kansas City.
Well, yeah, everyone. Yeah, exactly.
Is that why you went the other way?
Well, yeah, 100%. Exactly.
Do you regret it?
Absolutely not.
You would do it again?
100%. Sign me up tomorrow. Okay. So one thing I do is I always just, everything I do in my life, my goal is to just get the best of it. And as long as you get the best of it, long term, you're going to make money. And so as long as I get the best of it in everything I do, why would I ever regret a decision? So now one thing to avoid going broke and things like that is you want to make sure you have proper bankroll management and things like that.
Oh,
so
say it again, brother.
That is how I avoid going broke.
Because sometimes you go out there and you have a bad day. And, I'm betting 2, 3, 4, 5% of my bankroll. So even if I lose every fucking bet that day, I'm only down 5% of my bankroll.
Yeah.
Yet there's some other people who say that fucking word all in. And you'll be winning for 3 straight fucking days. And then all of a sudden you lose, and that's when this son of a bitch goes all in. All of a sudden you're a fucking fraud. I'm a fraud because he went all in. So can we talk a little bit about bankroll management? That's kind of like, having a virgin in a whorehouse, because people don't want to hear about that stuff. But do you agree as a gambler that's one of the most important things?
Absolutely. So actually what's crazy is there was a study done at Harvard, and it was a study based off, there's 200 kids in a classroom, and you get to flip a coin 200 times. But it was a 3-sided coin. 2 sides were heads and 1 side was tails.
Interesting. Cool.
And on this study, it says make as much money as you can. You start with $100. You can bet whatever you want. Just don't go broke. a third of the students in this experiment went dead broke. And that's, by the way, a massive edge. 2 sides of heads, 1 side's tails, right? So obviously you would think logically, like you and me, we would bet heads every single time because it has the edge. Some of these kids in Harvard were betting tails because they're like, oh, tails is supposed to come 1/3 of the time.
Harvard ain't what it used to be. Harvard ain't what it used to be, man.
Yeah, but basically it's just like, you want to have proper bankroll management and you never want to over leverage anything. And for instance, I'm sports betting now.
Okay.
So it's funny how I got into sports. So I grew up through poker, and like my dream was to play poker. And you asked about WSOP, World Series of Poker, which is like the biggest tournament series every single year. Everyone's dream to play and whatnot. And I remember, like I said, I was 14, 15, 16, sneaking to the Rio, putting on a hoodie to go watch my dad for 8 hours a day. And I was like, I can't wait till I'm 21 because like I'm going to be here every single day playing in these tournaments.
You don't want to go to the Rio anymore.
So, well, I'll tell you the story. So what happens is I'll go on my little life journey. So I basically dropped out of college after I made $200,000 first month of sophomore year in college. I had a company that I started and everything that was like very successful at the time. And I was
nothing to do with gambling.
Nothing to do with gambling.
Okay.
A social media application. But I was just like, you know what? Like,
so you're a successful entrepreneur, not just a gambler.
Yeah, I was doing well, and I was doing Airbnbs at the time, making a couple $100,000.
Like I just straight hustler.
Yeah, anything I do or whatever. So I was a smart guy, and so what happened is like I was just like, you know what, screw all this stuff. Like I knew with Airbnb, for instance, I could just make money whenever I wanted. However, whenever I wanted, so I didn't need no degree. I was never going to work for anyone anyways. So I just said, screw this, never. Well, my senior year of high school, I went to California to play basketball. And I worked at my uncle's restaurant. He had it's called the Fish Shop, and you basically, yeah. Well, I'll tell you this. I was, and it doesn't matter. I had a job for him, and it's actually kind of a funny story because it was a restaurant, and I would work the register, and the restaurant would do about 12 to 14,000 sales a day. But I would go for one third of the day, and if I didn't register, it would go from like 16 to 18K. So I increased their sales by 33% on a 5-hour shift. Just upselling at the sales register. Okay. So he loved when I was there. And I used to actually go in, and there was this one story one time, the girl coming to the restaurant with her man. The man paid for his food, and he went and sat down and left the girl by herself to order. And then so I literally told her she ordered food, and I was like, don't worry, it's on me. And if you ever go out with me, I'll make sure you never pay for your meal. And I said this in front of my manager. He's like, Sean, come up right now. We have to have a talk in the office. And so he's trying to scold me and stuff. I was like, dude, fire me, man. Like, I don't want to be here. Like, go tell my uncle who owns the place and to literally get me out of here. At the time, I was like going to the casino all the time, playing poker, making $500, $1,000 a game at Barona. Like, I didn't want to be working there. I just did it because my uncle, I made him a lot of money. He's like, yo, you got to stop. And I put myself in such a position. I was like, dude, I'm more valuable to you than you are to me. Fire me if that's the case. So that's the only job I ever had. But yeah, so what happens is I ended up dropping out of school because I was 18 and I saw there was a tournament at Hard Rock in Florida, which is coincident where we are. And it was the poker tournament series, and you only had to be 18 plus to play poker here. And in Vegas, you have to be 21. And I was just like, at the time, I was watching like poker streams 12 hours a day from wake up to sleep. And I was playing in the local car rooms like.
What year was this?
So I was 19, so I don't know, 8 years ago.
Okay. 16?
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. 2015 I graduated, 2016, maybe 2017, 2016 area. So what happened was I came straight to Hard Rock like the day after playing this tournament series and won $700,000 my first week out of school. Became a millionaire at the age of 19 years old.
Okay. So let's rewind here. You have people who are making about 50, 60 racks a year.
Yeah.
Working 40-hour shifts, then having to pay Uncle Sam their measly paycheck. And you did what as soon as you went on a... Can you repeat that?
Yeah, my first week out of college, I became a millionaire. Made $700,000 playing poker. Within 1 week, I would drop in at college.
Cash game? Or
cash games, tournaments. So I got second in a tournament to Joe McKeon, who's, by the way, was a world champion in WSOP main event one year, I think for like either 10 or 12 million. He won like the biggest buy-in ever.
So you know all these guys, Ivy, Negrano, you know all these guys, right?
Every single one of them. Okay. Yeah. I gamble against all of them. So.
And how is your record against the best guys?
I've destroyed every single person. That's why
is there anyone you have issues with? Like anyone who's at least 50-50 with you straight up?
Well, so basically how I look at things is more so it's like I mean, obviously, like for instance, when I play tournaments, like some tournament poker, there's a lot of variance. So some people are gonna be up, some people are gonna be down. But like overall, I'm up money. So that's how I kind of look at things, right? I wouldn't say that I look at someone and be like, head to head against you, because like in a tournament format, it's more so like, hey, how do you do overall? And I've completely annihilated
like
my
a
competition.
cash game, maybe like you took $100K from this guy, you bluffed this dude.
I'm just used to winning, so I haven't had.
So you're so used to winning, you don't give a fuck where this shit comes from. It's all about the bottom line with you.
So what's funny is, so basically I did super well in this tournament, 19, right? And my mentality was I dropped out of school. I made whatever, I was a millionaire now. And then directly from there was a tournament series now in Montreal, Canada. Okay. We only had to be 19 plus as well to play poker at Playground Casino. And I was just like, if you think about it, I just came out of school and like someone's like, oh, I just became a millionaire, won 700,000, like let's go party. Like that was never my mindset. I never drank alcohol. I stayed away from chasing all the whores.
Are you a Muslim?
Like, no, I'm not into Muslim, but I'm into keeping my brain sharp.
Gotcha.
Like sharp mind. I have to use my mind for work, right?
And money over whores, right?
Always. So what was kind of funny is though there was like a day in between. So I was like, well, I could book a nonstop flight from Florida to Montreal for $600, or I could book a flight with 3 layovers for $120, save myself $500, and spend the night in the airport. And I decided to do this, and I remember I had $200,000 in my backpack at the time in cash. I put $500K in my bank, and I kept $200K in cash to go playing cash games and stuff in Montreal. So to save $500, I was sleeping in the airport with $200,000 in my backpack as a pillow. Never again is that happening. But that's just kind of the mentality I had, where I was like, hey, like every dollar I make is my bankroll, and I want to make sure I don't spend any money. I want to use it to gamble and make more money.
Because every dollar is ammunition to you.
Exactly. Okay. And so like I've always had this mindset of like, hey, let's preserve, let's save, and let's use my money to make more money. And that's probably a big reason why I've never been broke from gambling.
Yeah. I mean, there's one thing about being thrifty, but I mean, come on, dude. You gotta sleep on $200K, not to waste fucking $500. Come on, man.
So that was doing that. And I went to Montreal. I did well there. And what was happening is for the next 2 years, basically, I was just like, it was kind of hard for me to gamble. So I was I was be in Canada and play online poker and things like that. And I was doing well everywhere I was at. And then there was this tournament called 5 Diamond Main. So after the World Series of Poker, the next biggest tournament to be in is the 5 Diamond Main. First place is going to be like a couple $1 million. And the day of my 21st birthday was the day of this tournament. So I was telling people for 2 years that I'm going to win this goddamn thing. And what ended up happening, I get 5th for $500,000 on my 21st birthday in that tournament, or 4th place. So I didn't win for $2 million, but I got 4th for $500K.
That's not a bad day, though.
Yeah.
And let people understand this, because we haven't even talked about numerology and astrology.
Yeah.
But that's one of the things I always preach. Do things under your energy. This man had a nice payday on his birthday, and unless you're in the 7-year cycle, pound on your birthday. Even if you don't like gambling, maybe on your birthday, you actually might get the casino. Just something to think about. Go ahead, brother.
Well, you know what? Kind of to back that point up, I believe that it has a lot to do with, like, I'm a big fan in, like, having confidence or manifestation, right? Mm-hmm. So if you think you're lucky in your birthday, you're going to have a better mindset and a clear head. So when you have a clear head, you're making better decisions, right? And that's why you're more likely to win when you're on your birthday or things like that, as opposed to...
Let's talk about your poker skills. Obviously, there's a lot of people who play poker.
Yeah.
Not as successful as you.
Yeah.
People know the percentages. You're not the only one who knows what the percentage of a flush is. People know the percentages, okay?
Yeah.
There's other people who are really good at psychology, very good at bluffing, very good at reading people. There's a lot that goes into this. What is special about you? Because other people can do that. Ivy can do that. Negrano can do all this stuff. That's why they're consistently at the final table.
Yeah.
By the way, if you think it's luck that people consistently get to the final table, you're out of your fucking mind, okay? There's a level and skill. But I also believe that some people are luckier than others. So when it comes down to you, do you sense things? Like you have a monster hand.
Yeah. Well, first of all, back to what you're saying. I personally believe that I'm the luckiest person to step foot on this earth. And I think that has a lot of part to do with my success because I believe it. I have a very clear mind, right? So I'll be at a poker table, for instance, or I'll be making a sports bet or whatever it may be. And I'm just always thinking I'm going to win. And with that kind of confidence or manifestation, like good things happen. Like the same how you said is like, hey, when you go on your birthday and you gamble, like in general, better things should happen to you as opposed to worse. As long as you're getting the best of it, obviously. Don't go to the casino and play roulette on your birthday because you're thinking it's my lucky day. Like that's not going to turn out well. But yeah, like poker has a lot to do with like reading people and things like that, where I'm very strong in. I have a good understanding, and I could sense if people.
You're born in the year of the rat, 96. Of course, you're good at reading people. So
yeah,
all that bullshit.
Your numerology stuff's insane.
What I want to know is, when you lay down big hands,
yeah,
do you feel something? Is there something that's telling you, yo, I need to let go? And mathematically, it's the wrong move. Mathematically, it's the wrong move, but you have a gut feeling, I need to lay this bitch down. Is that something that happens to you, and how often does it happen if it does?
I mean, basically every hand you play, you have that, it's called that sixth sense. And that's what separates someone from good to elite. Like, for instance, in poker, you have, like, the game is, like, similar to chess, so it's solved. Like,
no,
people,
I'm actually really good at chess. I can't do
so,
poker the same way. Well, let me tell you something. No one's going to suck out on the turn or in the river in a chess game. Okay,
yeah,
that's not going to happen.
They're both very algorithmic based, right? So, like, chess, you can solve chess. There's computers out there that solve chess. There's actually computers out there that have solved poker. And they say, like, hey, like, the best computer can beat the best human. They're working on things like that right now. So the game of poker is relatively solved.
There's no luck in chess. There's no luck in chess. There's zero luck in chess. Cards, it's different.
No, there's no such thing as luck in anything in life, to be honest. Like,
you don't believe that some people get more turn in river cards than other people?
Short term, yes, absolutely.
Never long term.
Exactly, never long term. But over the course of one of our lifetimes, it's a very short term sample size.
Okay.
So,
but you do agree it does happen.
Well, short term, someone definitely runs better than someone else.
Short term would be one lifetime.
Well, a lifetime in theory is still short, yeah. So, like, the best players, like, so you could actually play in poker, for instance. You could play against a solver and figure out how good you are against the computer. And based off how you do, just determines how good of a player you are. But now you go play in a tournament, like, whoever wins that tournament, they got lucky to win that poker tournament, right? You make a sports bet. In theory, you kind of got lucky to win that exact bet. So, like, for instance, in
straight
sports,
bet is 50-50, two-team parlay,
yeah,
25%.
Yeah, you have an edge. Yeah, things like that. So it's like you can't just sit here and say, oh, I have an edge, I'm just going to win. Doesn't exist, right? Oh, I have an edge in this poker tournament, I'm going to win. It doesn't exist. Like, there's variance in anything you do in life. There's variance how you injure yourself. Like,
do you believe in timing?
Absolutely.
Actually, I'm in a 7-year cycle, so I did expect to injure myself. I just didn't know how it was going to happen. I didn't know if it was going to be an arm. I didn't know if it was going to be a leg. That's what I didn't know. But, there are some things that I do know with, numerology and astrology. Like, for instance, I love to bring up a guy by the name of Corey Bellinger. You ever hear that name?
No.
So Corey Bellinger was an outfielder with the Los Angeles Dodgers. He was the best player in Major League Baseball in 2019. Absolute best player. In 2020, 2021, 2022, no one's ever fucking heard of him again. Because he's born in 1995, the year of the pig, and again, he actually, 2019 was the year of the pig. So I can look at people's birthdays and say, you know what? He's going to peak right or wrong here. And I can do that fairly accurately. So again, when it comes down to good years and bad years, you can look at a person and say it's much more likely based off his birthday he's going to have a good year and a bad year. You might not be able to say, oh, Johnny's going to move to Idaho and live with Aunt May, but you will be able to say, you know what, his energy looks like he's going to make a move.
Okay. So it's crazy that you're into these things, because the way I kind of look at it on the outside in, it's like somewhat of a superstition sort of thing. And, like, to be honest, people that are superstitious in the gambling world tend to not do very well.
I think most gamblers tend not to do well.
Well, if you're superstitious, it's the worst thing you could possibly be in the space of the gambling world. Because, like, the truth is behind things is, like at the end of the day, gambling is math based, and like I said, it's all algorithmic based.
Damn numbers,
things like that, and so it's just like you have a lot of people that come in, like you even have people that are hypnotists and can read people's minds. In someone, they try to take on poker or they try to like do sports or whatever. They're not at the top. There's a reason why they're not at the top, because it's like at the end of the day, it's like math. And now when poker and things like that, people give away certain reads or things like that where you could take into your advantage. There's outside things that's why like some people at the top of the poker world will outperform these computers, because humans kind of suck in general, and they're known to make mistakes. And if you could pick up on these mistakes, you could exploit your opponents. So
well, I think you have to pick up on your other people's mistakes to exploit them. I think that's what war is all about. I think that's what anything's all about. Have to see where your opponent's weak and go after it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
That's what UFC fighters do quite often. One of the things I used to think is, I used to think a lot of things were superstitious too.
Okay.
One of the things I always just thought was superstitious, like, stuff like angel numbers and things like that. But one thing I always had a love for was history. Love fucking history, man. And when I looked at certain numbers, like Kyrie Irving, he always talks about the number 11.
Okay.
I always found that, very interesting. And, when he was actually born, he was born 1992, the year of the monkey. And do you know the only time that he won an NBA championship was when he busted that three over Steph Curry in 2016, the year of the monkey? So, again, you can think some things are superstitious, but when you see a sample size of things working out over and over, it's very difficult to believe certain things are superstitious. Like, for instance, people who were born in the 5th, like you, travel quite often.
And the second we met, you asked me my birthday, and you asked, you travel quite a lot. And the truth is, I am always on the move.
That's the thing.
It is.
All people born on the 5th are always going to be on the move.
Yeah.
Because, you see, this is a virtual reality, at least in my opinion. I believe this is all a virtual reality. And it's governed by mathematics.
Yeah.
That's, again, everything has to do with numbers. And for the people watching, everyone knows men lie, politicians lie, women definitely lie, but numbers never lie.
Exactly.
Numbers never lie. But when you look at stuff like poker and you look at stuff like chess, there has to be an element in cards where someone can get lucky. And the way I describe that is, let's see if we can see when the person was lucky and tie it into when his birthday hit.
Okay.
And see if we can see a correlation somewhere.
And you're saying over the long term you saw a correlation.
Well, I'll give you this. I always wanted to know why some people are rich.
Okay.
That's like one of the things everyone wanted to know. Why does this motherfucker has money? Like,
Okay.
for instance, who's the richest guy in the world? Elon Musk? Or is it what they say sometimes?
Well, I mean, that's the public record, right?
Okay, so let's go with the Fortune 500, okay?
Okay,
and then
yeah.
we can talk about Putin in a second.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go into Fortune 500. Elon Musk predominantly was the richest man in the world back and forth for the past couple of years, right?
Yeah.
Okay. What about last decade? Who was usually the richest guy in the world?
I mean, you had what? You had Bill Gates.
Bill Gates.
Yeah.
Bill Gates. So again, you said Bill Gates, not me, right?
Yeah.
So it's very ironic that Bill Gates and Elon Musk are both born on the 28th. And when you start looking at that number, like, okay, you start understanding that 28 is the number of wealth. What's the most valuable sports franchise in the world?
Was it
Dallas.
the Maverick? No, Cowboys?
There you go. Jerry Jones Cowboys. And that franchise was established on the 28th. So when you start going down the list and you start saying, okay, some people have money, some people who have very valuable sports franchises have that number too. You ever hear of something called Vanguard?
No.
BlackRock?
Yeah.
Okay, so BlackRock is, is worth about 10, they got about 10 trillion assets.
Okay.
Vanguard actually owns stock in BlackRock.
Okay.
And Vanguard's a private company, and they were founded 5/1/1975 as of the 28. There's a guy named LeBron James, born 12/30/1984, adds up to 28. Same day as Tiger Woods. Did you know LeBron and Tiger were born on the same day? The two people who dominated their fields not only are born on the same day, they also have the same numerology number. So when you start going down this rabbit hole and start saying, wait, how is this possible that LeBron James and Tiger Woods, both born on the same day, both 28 life paths, have dominated their respective sports? And at that time, you start thinking, you know what? Maybe this isn't a coincidence. So while I do agree with you, most people who are gamblers are losers. And if they weren't, how the fuck would you make money? Everything's got to even out at some point, man. Someone's got to give, someone's got to take. That's just how the system works. But
I can show you why I'm a winner in gambling, if that makes sense. Like, you could put it on pen and paper and see, like, for instance, sports betting.
Could you take anyone off the streets, teach them your system, and they'll be successful?
Well, my system's like, for instance, in sports, it's algorithmic based, right? Poker, it's like, yeah, people could become winning poker players, but it requires a certain type of mental breed, right?
Not gonna be you.
Yeah, it's a very tough. Poker is a very tough world to make money in, because even if you are a winning poker player, like, so many people crack under pressure or can't withstand bankroll management, and they over leverage themselves. And you could be a winner and absolutely crush. I'll give you a stat, for instance, in poker, you could have a 15% edge in a tournament, play 1,000-person tournament 8,000 times and still be a loser. And think about that. 15% may not sound like a lot. Vegas was built on 2%, right? So Vegas, the casinos were built on 2%, having a 2% edge, and you could have a 15% edge in a poker tournament in a 1,000-person field over the course of 8,000 sample size and still be net negative. So it's just like the mental capacity and endurance to be able to withstand these things and the bad beats. It takes a unique individual. So poker is a very tough field, right? Sports, so how I got into sports, I'll explain to you.
When did you make the natural evolution from poker to sports? By the way, Phil Ivey tried that, and he's really good at poker, not so good at sports. So how did you actually make this happen?
So actually, speaking about Phil Ivey right now, he actually is firing sports massive. We bet against each other, things like that. He's, I don't know exactly his... Oh, we fired Phil Ivey and I have bet $500,000 against each other, like, through other third parties.
He specifically fades you?
We would fire against each other. So he works, but I don't know if I should talk about his operations or whatnot, what he's doing, but he's manipulating the market and things like that. So I can get into all those sort of things in the sports world and what's happening in a bit. I don't necessarily want to know if I want to say about his business or things like that, because
I just want to know if you're,
I've gambled massive against Phil Ivey.
If you're really good at gambling, why the hell would anyone fade you?
Well, because there's a lot of people like that are also think they're good at gambling, right? And for instance, like he may be good at some things, but has leaks in some areas as well. Okay. So one thing is, if Phil Ivey found out, if I wanted to bet against, so what Phil Ivey is doing right now, he's betting massive on sports, and he's like manipulating the market, meaning like what he'll do is he'll fire a bunch here on team A, make the line go from like, for instance, +7 to like +8, and then try to bet it.
It's nothing new.
Yeah, exactly. People with large bankrolls can do that, and then he would try to fire +8. So now if I come pick up the other side at -8, and he found out it was me doing it, he would be scared to accept that action. So I'd have to do it through other people, because like the people that are working under me.
This is the game within the game you're talking about here.
So you have to decoy. So like, yeah, I would actually. I would take my sports and bet against anyone there is.
Not the Super Bowl, right?
No, my Super Bowl bet was good. Like almost every single sharp in the world, outside of like this one guy named Billy Baxter. I don't know if you know who he is or not, but he was on the Chiefs. But everyone else was basically, because what happens is, like, for the Super Bowl, for instance, so much money, like, so one event of the year that I'm basically banned from every casino, or if I'm not banned, I'm limited, meaning like they'll let me go in and I could bet like $20,000, for instance. But like the thing is, after they take my play, they're going to move the market, and I'm trying to bet hundreds of thousands. So it basically makes me not even able to ever bet it there.
You don't have runners?
Well, the runners, it's hard to get down, but that's what I do. I have, like, for instance, 6,000, because I'm betting millions of dollars a day. So I have like 6,000 accounts through bookies and things like that.
I understand what you're doing.
I have all sorts of different avenues to bet. Like, that's people coming
in. Have a couple people in
whatever.
Vegas, Detroit.
So that's all. Whatever. I don't prefer not to talk about that stuff. No whatever. But so I'll just tell you how I got into sports. So basically, what I realized growing up, I wanted to be the best poker player in the world. That was my dream. And then I realized, hey, like, I can make way more money pretending I suck at poker and I'm a degenerate gambler and get in poker games with billionaires. Like, for instance, Molly's Game. You've seen that movie, right?
Of course.
So for those of you that know, Molly's Game is basically a movie based. Everyone should probably go watch it. It's honestly phenomenal.
By the way, a very good movie.
Yes. So it's like a high stakes poker game with like home games where there's no pros allowed, and they just have a bunch of celebrities and
Let
very
me ask you a real
big time.
Question, though.
Yeah.
Molly's Game is a great movie, but do You really believe a woman could pull that off?
So the story is actually kind of, the actual story behind the movie is kind of flawed. So what happened is
shocking. Absolutely shocking.
Yeah. So what happened is Molly used to work for a guy in LA. So all the movie is based. She worked for a guy in LA where she was an assistant. The guy was known to be a big scum, and in these games, there was a game ran in New York that was extremely massive, right? And so Molly was running a poker game in LA, and there was no rake or anything in this game. Rake meaning like...
How do they make money if there's no rake?
Because it was just amongst friends, right? And it was a rich dude, and he was just doing it, and people got tipped out and whatnot. He just wanted to be with his buddies, and people like to gamble and drink, right? So Molly's running this game. There was no rake in this LA game. There's a game ran in New York, and there was this Russian father and son, big time billionaires. Like they smuggled art. They did a lot of illegal, whatever it may be. They did a lot of things to make a lot of money, and they would gamble in these casinos. They were the biggest whales, so the game was ran around them. The son that played in this game in New York came to LA and he met Molly in this LA game because he played when he was in LA, and they started dating. So now he goes back to New York, and he tells him, so in the movie, transitions, Molly was in LA, and then she got over it, and she went to New York to start her own game. But that's not really true. She went there, she started dating the son of the guy who was playing this game, and basically that father and son said, hey, to the boss of the game in New York, give Molly half this game, or else we're going to go and she'll start her own game with us there. And then he knew everyone would follow because they're the two biggest losers. So that's the whole story of it. And how that game ended up getting rolled is Bernie Madoff, that whole Bernie Madoff scheme and whatnot. Some guy was coming in, losing money there, and he would just come and lose hundreds of thousands of dollars. So he kept sending wires, but he would get millions from these people to invest. And so it was like a funnel for him, and then that's how that game got shut down and rolled.
Wow.
So,
Madoff strikes again.
So what happened is, how I got in the sports world is I started realizing, like, being the best poker player, no one wants to gamble against the best. Like you just brought up earlier, like, do people want to bet sports against you, or do people want to play poker against you? And the answer is no. So you have to have. No, if he found out I'm on the opposite side, he'd lay off, right? Because he wouldn't manipulate the market, so he thinks, oh, I could beat anyone because it's a fake number.
There's people who will lay off bets if they find out you're not.
1,000%. Oh, 1,000%. Everyone, basically, yeah, 1,000%. So, yeah. But that's how the gambling world works, because people, like sharps, respect other sharps, right? So they'll think, oh, this guy, he's making a lot of money. Why is he on the opposite side? I'm going to remove my position. So a lot of the people in the gambling world at the top, whatever, they're kind of like, a lot of people are spending a lot of money in the pro world. Like I spend millions of years.
They're buying your picks, buying someone else's picks, buying someone else's picks.
The people aren't
where everyone's at.
No, we're getting each other's plays and stuff like that. We just kind of know, and when you're sharp and stuff, you could just like depict, like you could see based off market movement who's on what and things like that.
Okay, so you don't know what people are on individually, but you just see which way the market's moving.
Well, you could see which way the market's moving, and then you could find out, like, hey, this guy's betting here. Like, it's kind of a small world, right? There's only a few people at the top that are betting massive and things like that. But the best is when you try to hide things, or like it's hard to make money in the real world. Like the same in poker, it's hard to beat the pros. So you try to go through the businessmen. That's how you make all the money. So that's why I've basically gone to the top of the world, because I'm connected with all the businessmen. And how that happens is because of the fact that I realize in poker, it's not best to be known as the smartest. It's best to be known as like a degenerate gambler, so I could get in these games. Like I was young, I was 21, I was 22, and I had all this money, and these guys just thought I was like a trust fund kid or something. So I'd come in these games, and I would act like a degenerate. Like if someone wanted to flip me for $1 million, I would flip for $1 million. I'd actually beg, be like, yo, I lost a pot. I need action. Someone flip me. $1 million. And they're just thinking, this guy's fucking nuts. You know what I mean? They wanted to gamble with me. I was fun. I'm very talkative, an outgoing personality. I'm not like these other pros. Like a lot of the people in the pro world, in poker or sports, whatever, they're very nerdy. They're very like, they're autistic. Yeah, it's like no one wants to be around them. Like me, I'm young. Like I'm good looking. Like I'm personal. I don't look like someone that's like, hey, this guy seems super sharp. Nerd. Exactly. Okay, gotcha. So I was in these games, and
that's what happens when you're born on the 5th.
So speaking of like the World Series of Poker, right? You said, did I used to dream of playing World Series Poker? Under 21, I did. But then I started getting involved in these private games. I basically skipped every single event my 21st birthday of the WSOP, which was my dream to play in when I was under 21. I'm coming 21, and I'm just like making so much money in these private cash games that I didn't care about playing tournaments. I actually entered the WSOP main. I was chip leader heading into day 2, and I got called to go play in a high stakes cash game with like people like Kevin Hart and multiple billionaires. And I was like, you know what, screw this. I just left my chips. And I went to go play in the cash game where I made over 7 figures in like 2 days playing with those guys. So it's like a final tabling in that tournament.
Cares about 10K.
So yeah, so basically I learned at a really young age, hey, like let me just start acting like a degenerate. And I basically became involved in the highest poker games stakes there were with businessmen, things like that, where I was crushing it.
Okay.
And
do you still play poker?
Not so much at all anymore.
Okay, so that explains the podcast.
So
about this now. I'm like, what if you have to play these guys again? But okay.
So what happened is like I was winning a bunch, and like my seats slowly were getting removed from the games. But I did become friends with these guys, and they grew a liking towards me. And a lot of them realized, hey, when I was your age, you reminded me a lot of myself. So like people like to gamble against their friends in general. So you become friends with these people, and then they're down to gamble with you.
Has any celebrity like just worked you over one night, just got lucky on the river?
Well, it happens all the time, obviously. Okay. People win and lose. I have all the stories with celebrities. But,
let me ask you, how many times when those celebrities beat you, did you do it on purpose so you can mop them up a little bit later more, or how many times was it actually genuine that these guys beat you?
So I'm never going to like lose on purpose. But what I would do is in these cash games, I would give insane amount of action. That's not optimal to play, but I wouldn't play, in theory, my A game because I wanted to give more action, so they wanted to continue playing with me because no one wants to play poker with someone that's tight. So what happened is how I got into sports is because I was connected here, all these people that are really sharp, they're probably making, maybe 500. Like, for instance, a sharp person runs sports books. Sports books paying them like 150, 200K a year. Okay. So they're bottom level sharps. Then you have sharps that are going to go work on their own, make $500,000, $1 million a year, or whatever. Or if they're real sharp, they could come work for me. I'll pay them more than what they're making betting on their own because I have sick outs to bet against because I'm connected with billionaires. I know all these bookies. And because of all my friends through the poker world, I could use their accounts to bet and things like that. So basically, someone who's real sharp can work under me and make more money working for them, for me than for themselves.
The biggest issue with sharps, and again, you're not the first person I talk to, is the biggest issue is getting fucking accounts.
Yes, exactly. Getting down 100%. Okay. So my specialty is I have the special network of people where I'm able to get all the accounts in the world. Like I said, I have 6,000 bookie accounts right now.
Yeah, you basically push it all bets certain ways.
Well, you have bots, you have things like that. But I'm like super well connected and plugged, and that's why I was able to hire the best in the world to work under me. And so because of that, what happened is, what's funny is, so I've also stopped playing tournament poker because I never really prioritized it because I wanted to be known as a whale, like as a businessman, in order to continue playing these games. And then what happened is when I was 24 in the year 2021, I was cross-booking against some billionaire in tournaments. So what that means is like we would play a tournament, it was 10K buy-in, say I cashed for 80K. The guy I was gambling against, he would owe me 800,000. And then vice versa. If he cashed in the tournament, he cashed for 60K, I'd owe him 600K. So we're going head-to-head every single day on the Poker Go Tour, which is the most prestigious poker tournament series there is. It's like 10K buy-ins or above, and you get a world ranking. And I was doing so well that I was actually tied for number 1 in the world. And then the guy lost all his Bitcoin to me and stopped. And there was about 4 months left in the year, and I was tied first. And my mom's like, Sean, this is so sick. You're literally ranked the number 1 poker player in the world right now. And I was like, Mom, this isn't good. This is blowing my image that I've built for years. Like, I'm not going to be able to play with all these businessmen in these private games anymore. So I just went on a 4-month world tour, and I ended up finishing 3rd in the world that year. So actually, I was tied for first, and that's like my first time playing tournaments like competitively, seriously, day in, day out, because I was making so much money cross-booking against this billionaire businessman. And so it kind of
never lost on purpose to get more money out of someone later.
Well, I've done dumb things on purpose. Like I said, like I'm never like.
The same thing?
Well, you can't necessarily like I will never be in a spot where I'm just going to give someone money. Like no one wants to like. So another thing is people that are gambling or playing. It's competitive. Like all these people that are very successful, they became very successful because they have that competitive factor instilled inside them. So if you just
Michael Jordan's one of the most competitive people in this world.
Yeah. He'll never want to be given a thing.
There were reports about him gambling very heavy on.
Yeah, he got his fault. Yeah, him like reports of getting his father killed and things like that, right? Due to gambling debts.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
Yeah, I'd rather not talk about it. There's a lot of things I'd rather not talk about. And in the gambling world, unfortunately, there's a lot of macho gangsters and things like that, and you don't want to talk about. Or
having said that, you deal with a lot of money. I heard the other day you won like $1 million in this casino over here in Florida, correct?
Yeah, 700,000.
Okay, so first almost $1 million. Like, when you're carrying that much cash, Don't you need like security around you and stuff like that?
Well, so you never carry cash outside of the casino, right? Okay. So you'll get a check or like a lot of the casinos.
So you never go outside the casino with any money?
Yeah, I don't have money on me ever outside casinos.
Is this specifically for that reason?
Yeah, well, there's no point. So like for instance, in Vegas, like I'll have boxes set up. Like they have private boxes in back rooms for high stakes gamblers. So I have boxes at every one big casino. So I just have my money already there waiting for me. Because like it's a safety hazard. No one wants to travel with a lot of money. So a lot of these people like get followed home and big gamblers and they think they're going to get money out of it. And it's just, like the truth is like no high stakes gamblers carrying money on them because we know we're a high risk target.
It makes sense. When I was doing my big gambling, compared not to him, but to most people, one of the things I appreciated was William Hill. If you're going up to Reno or Las Vegas, you could like cash in the same tickets, so you didn't actually have to travel with the cash. You could just travel with the tickets. One of the things that pisses me off about Caesars is you can't take the Vegas tickets and cash them in New Jersey and vice versa. And I understand they have different laws and stuff like that, but that would make it a lot more convenient for people so they wouldn't have to fucking travel with cash.
Yeah. They also have chips. So if like you have big chips, like 5K or above, they have chips inside them. So if someone robbed them from you, it's like
What's the biggest chip you ever had? I had 25K.
100K chips. Actually, what's crazy is...
What's the color on those?
It's different from every casino. But they're called pumpkins at Aria, for instance. They're orange, right? And I was playing this poker game one time. And I was 20, I think I was either 21 or 22. And I'm playing this high stakes poker game. I have a few $100,000 in front of me. And everyone's talking about this guy that's about to come in. Like, yo, he's the biggest whale ever. And like, yo, get ready for him. Like, he loses a lot of money. He comes to this table and dumps out his bag. And out comes 50 pumpkins. So that's $5 million in chips. And at this point, I've never seen a 100K chip. Because they're hard to like exchange. And like the casino doesn't carry them on the floor and whatever. And I'm just like... okay, this guy means business. Like, I'm loving like what I'm seeing right now. I'm rated 100%. And within about 10 minutes, he gets a call from Hermes store, and they're offering him. Goes, hey, we have 2 of those bags your wife wanted. Do you want them? This guy spends millions a year at Hermes, and so he offers the game. He goes, hey, the guy from the store, Hermes store, has 2 purses. They're about $70,000 each. One's for my wife. Does anyone want the other one? And I hesitated. And I was just like thinking, and like I waited too long. Someone else took it. That one bag was worth $250K. So it's crazy how the designers
just giving it away.
Well, we're amongst friends, right? It's like I said, amongst people
nice friends.
So, but it's not giving it away. It's like the store would offer to someone else. So he'd rather have one of his friends get it because you can't. He can't sell it. Like if I would have bought it, I would never been able to sell it. I just gave it to my mom and whatever. Yeah. I wasn't in the time. I'm 21. I don't need to spend $70,000 on a bag for my mom right now. But I still kind of regret that to this day because it'd be worth $250,000. But yeah, so that was my first time ever seeing a 100K chip. I have 100K chips and things like that now. I went and made a Super Bowl bet just the other day with $100,000 chips over at Circa. So one thing that's beautiful about, I'll tell you my story at Circa, which is kind of fascinating. So one thing I do is I also try to hustle the casinos. And on top of other gamblers. And so I'll go to the casinos, and I'm actually the highest players card at every big casino there is. And the reason for that is because these casinos have sports books. So if you walk in off the street and just want to bet sports, they're just going to give you normal limits. But if you go to the casino first, lose a few $100,000 expected value, meaning like I'll play blackjack or baccarat max per hand. And the casino will give me the highest rated thing because they think I'm a whale. I'm a losing gambler.
So clears are your 7 stars.
Yes, so 7 stars. I'm NOR at MGM. Actually, I was the youngest NOR. And the day after I turned 21, I became NOR at MGM. Like, because right off the rip, I had this hustle in me. I was just going to start making money the second I turned 21. So what happens is, like, I'd go to the sports books and just head crack them. So, like, I would basically make myself in the eyes of the casino degenerate, and then I'd go to the sports books and bet big. And then what I would do is, like I said, the people who are running the sports books, they're not that sharp. They're getting paid $150,000 a year. Like my motto in life is like if you're good at what you do, you're never going to work for somebody, right? You're going to work for yourself. Because why make someone else money?
Not everyone's an entrepreneur, bro.
Well, if you're
not everyone's a capitalist, brother.
So like I don't know, the sports world, the people that are. Whatever they may be, but they're just easy to manipulate. So what I can do is I am able to manipulate the market in the sports world. So what that means is, say I'm betting the Lakers +7. I can make the Lakers go to +8 and then fire them for 100%. But also what I can do is, because I make my own numbers, a lot of times I can make the market appear wrong. So if I have a massive account, I'll go bet the Lakers at +7 knowing it's winning, but then I'll reverse move the market. And then the Lakers will close at like +6.5 or +6. So the casino now will think I'm an idiot because I got a bad number. So the way the casino will cut you off from the sports books is if you're consistently beating the closing line, it shows that you're making money long term, right?
Yes.
And they know you're going to win money. But now what you can do is reverse screw them over and make the line move against you. So if I bet +7, I can have the game close +6, or no, +8, right? So if I bet +7, I can have the game close +8, and the casino will think I'm an idiot. And then they have no way of actually knowing that they're losing money until they're just down multiple millions of dollars. So there's a story when I was in this group chat when I was 21 years old. I was betting sports, or 22. I was betting sports against people. And I used to tell people, don't message me unless you want to bet minimum $50,000 a game against other pros. This one guy sends me a message. It's like on a football game. And he sent me for $5K. And I accept it because it's like minutes before the game. And I don't realize. And I try to cancel. I goes, yo, your bet's only $5K. I have a rule, only $50K plus. Can we cancel? And he goes like, nah, bet stands. So I was like, okay, fine. The third quarter comes, my team is down by like 30 points. I'm just dead, right? And he asked for a prepay. And I literally tell him, bro, go fuck yourself. Like, you're going to be the last person to get paid. You know I have like over $500,000 on this game, and you're asking for your $5,000 before the game even ends. Like, you're going to be the last person to get $1 right now. And he's just like, oh, I've seen many 22-year-olds come and go. You're cocky. You're full of shit, blah, blah, blah. And I literally told him, I go, man, I'm 50 years old, and I've been gambling my whole life, and I'm betting $5,000 a game. Like, just put a bullet through my face. That's what I told this guy. So, like, obviously I've had an ego. I was very confident. From the rip, I was the best, and I just, like, carried it all away. So this guy obviously hated me. And I'm, like, in a 50-person group chat with, like, all the top gamblers in the world, and we're all betting mass against each other. And I just insulted this dude, right? He's betting $5,000 a game at 50 when I'm here betting $500,000 a game at the age of 22 years old. All of money I made from gambling, from playing poker, from betting sports. So he really hated me. Then he comes to me about a couple years back. I was 25 and ran into me Arya, and he's like, hey man, like, I was talking to Arya, and I have a sick account here. Will you bet it for me? Like, the owner of the guy who runs the sportsbook says they've never seen a sharper person bet at this casino other than you. And I was like, man, like, I'm fine. Like, I don't want to, even though it'd make me money, I don't want to work with him because of the way he treated me back in the day. You know what I'm saying? So I still held that, but it was kind of good. Grudge. Yeah, well, in that particular instance. And he's also hard to deal with. Like, he doesn't pay people, and there's like other things to it. If it was smooth processing, there wouldn't have been any issues. But yeah, so sports is like kind of good. So another thing that kind of blew me up in the social media stuff is I've always been hidden, because like once I said again, like, having people know that you're a good gambler is not good, because people don't want to gamble against you. I go to Circa, though, about the start of this football season, and I waited 2 years to head crack the Circa Sportsbook. They're known as the biggest sportsbook, and when all the other sharp bettors do, they instantly go right away, and that's when they get flagged. And they don't want
the new casino
in
that
Vegas
a couple of years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
That was grand opening was on the 28th. Go ahead.
Wow. Okay. So maybe I went in on the 28th and deposited. So I show up. I waited 2 years to hit this sports book, because they're at least expecting. They probably assume all the sharps already came in.
I've been there.
Yeah, they accept the biggest limits. It's beautiful there. And I walk in with $1 million in cash, and I go, hey. I pull out all my players' cards from all the casinos. I said, I'm a big gambler. I have big accounts here. But I'm just
match me, basically.
Bullshitting. Yeah, like, give me a massive account. Yeah. So the guy who runs a sports book, there's Jeffrey Benson. He's like, okay, perfect. Like, we'll get you set up.
You know you're a fucking gambler. You know the goddamn manager's name every sports book.
Yeah, so what happens is he puts me in this group chat with him, and there's also these competitions that he tried to get me to sign up. Like I said, I'm acting like a degenerate. So he tells me about the Circa Survivor contest, which is over 9,000 people. Biggest one? Yeah, over 9,000 people entered. It was a 1K buy-in, winner take all, 9.3 million. Then there was a Circa Millions contest. It was
you took it?
Let me finish the story. There's Circa Millions contest, and what that is there's basically you pick 5 teams each week against a spread, and whatever, out of 6,300 people, and whoever does the best, whatever. So I basically entered both these competitions, pretending like I'm a degenerate, just to like have me get big limits. On my way out, I literally text him and go, hey, like, these competitions are too small. Can I just like back out of them? And you just add the money back into my account. He's like, no, you're already locked in. I was like, okay, great. What happens is my first week there, I'm getting big limits, and I end up beating Circa for $500,000 before they end up realizing what was happening, and then they reduce my limits to normal. Like, so it's funny, I have the text thread, like I was getting like 5x limits, and then to 2x, and then back to normal. And then what happens is when you bet normal, they move the whole market 1 whole point and make it embeddable for me. So I could actually use them to fake the market, because Circa is like the sharpest. Circa, since they accept the biggest amount, they're supposed to be the sharpest because they're allowing the most action to be bet there, right? So a lot of the sports books.
MGM.
No, Circa accepts way bigger than MGM.
People with Mirage, I think it was.
So like MGM can have, like if you're just a random person off the street, Circa has bigger limits than MGM.
Okay.
So then what happened is like
they actually take more in bets than MGM though.
Well, volume may be different, but like
Okay.
bet sizing, right,
Okay.
is the biggest at Circa. So like for a random person. So yeah,
What
Circa.
about South Point? Isn't that where
South Point's a joke, yeah.
Is that where Floyd goes to put in $1 million bets?
Well, maybe. I mean, any of these places will take $1 million bet from a sucker because then they can just hedge out. But like for someone on the street, South Point will give you a few $1,000s. Like there's no action over there.
Oh wow.
Yeah. I've actually been banned from South Point like 50 times because
no wonder you all have nice things to say about that.
so what happened is I beat them for like 500,000 one week, and then I'm just like, now I'm in this Circa competition, Survivor. Like I said, it's a competition where it's 9,300 people entered, 1K buy-in, winner take all. So what happens is the rules of this competition is you pick one team each week, and if the team you pick wins, you advance, but you can't repick the same team twice. There's 13 people left, and they're all on Twitter. 12 of the 13 got together and said, hey, let's chop this 9.3 million for like 770K a piece. And they're looking for Golden Boy. And now Golden Boy is me. And my friend texted me, get on Twitter. And I haven't tweeted in years. I'm not on social media whatsoever at this point. And they're wanting a chop. So I just get on and I just say, I'm like literally in bed one night and I just go, I'm Golden Boy. And with all due respect, I'm the best bettor in the world. And there's no way in hell I'm chopping. I wish you guys all the best, and I'll see you at the finish line. And then it just blew up the story. Like, what do you mean you're not chopping? Blah, blah. I was like, yo, I bet more than 700,000 on a single game. Like, this isn't a sweat for me yet. Like, I wasn't even sweating the competition yet. You know what I mean?
It's not enough money to care on all.
So what happened is I actually, so everyone was anti-railing me. They're thinking, I'm a dick. And it's just like, the truth is I had an edge. Like, if I have an edge, why am I going to chop at face value? I told them my team is worth 1.2 million off of like even though each team, if you divide it up, was like 770K at the point. I was like, if you guys want to pay me 2 million, like I'm happy to chop. But my team's worth 1.2 million and I have a skill edge against you guys. So like, I'm not looking to chop. Then what happens the next week, there's only 10 of us left and they're like, we're going to root. And then I end up losing. I got 5th in that competition for 0. And the whole internet started celebrating like, look at what happens. Karma's a bitch. And it's just like,
Listen, when you're a 33 life path and something so-called negative happens, they come out the woodwork, bro. They come out the woodwork and start attacking. So you might as well get used to this hate, bro.
So
it's not going to change.
Well, there's a saying: if you don't got any haters, you're doing something the wrong way.
Damon John once told me, that's the guy who is on Shark Tank. He's like, it's when you don't have haters, start worrying.
Exactly. Yeah. So what happens? Everyone's celebrating my loss, and people are just thinking, wait a minute, though. Like, if you think about it, why would this guy not chop $700,000? Because obviously they're thinking, oh wow, this guy actually is making money in sports. And so people were asking me, what do I do? And I was just like, you know what? What's actually also cool, by the way, is in the Circa Millions competition, 6,300 people entered. I finished 9th place out of 6,300 there for 75,000. So I turned 1K to 75K. Yeah,
I've heard of this competition.
Yeah,
people have told me about this competition. I know people who have runners over there for this competition.
Yeah.
This shit's real.
Well,
I think it wasn't. Didn't it used to be the Westgate that had the big?
Yeah, the Westgate used to have. But like I said, this competition is so small. I personally would never enter it. I only entered it trying to act like a whale because I showed up with $1 million in cash trying to beat them for a few $1 million.
And you still made
straight betting. I made $500,000 there and within a week before my limits got reduced. So it is. I wanted to win more, obviously, and wanted to bet more. But $500,000 is $500,000.
Okay.
Just
look, since you're a casino guy and the people who are going to be watching this podcast are going to be fucking gamblers, let me just go through every game and you tell me what you think, okay?
Okay.
Roulette.
One of the worst games in the casino.
You don't play that at all?
Yeah.
3-card poker.
No good.
Let's go to blackjack.
Okay, you can win a blackjack.
Do you hit on every 16?
No.
If you have a 7, the dealer has a 7 showing and you have a 16, do you hit?
16 against 7, you should usually almost always hit.
What
Now, 16 against a 10, in general, you're supposed to surrender.
A lot of casinos don't have surrender.
Yeah, they don't have surrender. Well, then you shouldn't be playing. You can't beat that game.
So unless
there's certain rules that
you're not.
Well, you want to surrender. I mean, you could still win. Like, so to be honest, like I'm not really like I used to hustle blackjack back in the day.
Seems like you used to hustle everything, brother.
Yeah, well, it's hard to make money in blackjack. So do you know there's 4 things in a casino actually that you can be profitable in. One is blackjack, right? The second is poker because you're playing against people, and the casino just takes a rake, and they don't necessarily care about who wins or whatnot. The third is sports, but like blackjack, when you're a winner in sports, they'll cut you off. And the fourth is progressive slot machines. So those are the 4 things in a casino that you could be. You can't be a winner in baccarat. Impossible. So I have a friend.
It's almost 50-50. It's like even cleaner than blackjack.
Yeah, well, it's the lowest. Baccarat is the smallest edge the casino can have against someone. Yes, but you can't be a long-term winner in baccarat. Now I have my friend Mickey, Dirty Goth Boy or whatever, the face tag guy, who I met through the gambling world and stuff. And then I started doing the social media stuff, and we've been hanging out and things like that. But I knew him from the poker world. And I'll tell him, like, yo, there's no way you were a long-term winner in baccarat. Speaking of Phil Ivey, he's the only guy known to actually win gambling in baccarat, but that's because he was edge sorting, which they had the cards laid a certain way, and they were cut at a certain angle, and he had a girl with him that was super sharp and had a sharp eye and picked it up. There was a misprint in the cards. So based off the cards, he knew what was supposed to come. But that's like having an edge on the casino in a non-legal way. He had to pay his money back.
Speaking of your friend, the guy who's all over social media with the tats on the big gambler and
stuff
like
Mickey
that.
Mace, yeah.
He says all casinos cheat.
So casinos...
And before I go into that, I just want to say I know someone who owns a casino.
Yeah.
And he sold that casino to a very famous... I don't want to go into details. Okay. He told me we don't need to cheat, bro.
So
we don't need to cheat. So why is your boy telling everyone that all casinos cheat, where I actually know people who ran casinos and they're telling me there's no reason for us to cheat, Gary?
Yeah, I would agree with what you're saying there. Like, casinos make so much money. It's like a money print.
I just don't get it. Why would they even cheat?
So why do they need to cheat?
I've like made mistakes where I bet more than I was supposed to, and there was a limit, and the casino returned money. They're like, yo, Gary, and they do this for high limit players, obviously. Yo, Gary, you bet too much, come down and get 2K or something like that.
Yeah.
They don't cheat. They don't need to. Can you imagine a business model so good that you never have to fix? You never have to do anything. I mean, for God's sake, most casinos don't even have locks on the doors.
So there was one time I was 21 years old, and like I said, my dad was a professional gambler. I just won this 5-diamond tournament for $500,000 on my 21st birthday. And there was progressive slot machines. And the EV, which is expected value behind each machine, because the progressive got so high, was supposed to be 5,000 a machine per hour, and there was 10 machines. And basically, how these progressive machines work is like the terminology used when a jackpot is supposed to be hit or not is called a cycle. So if you know the back end behind a thing, like if the jackpot is going to be hit 1 out of every 10,000 hand, it's called 1 cycle. Okay. So basically, based off the math on this machine and stuff, when we were playing 10 machine, we should have completed a cycle every 6 hours. And this jackpot we started playing was at 750,000. And based off all the math and all the algorithms and things, we were making 5,000 machine. Each machine was supposed to be independent of one another. But now the thing is, like all these odds and things like that, we only know about these things and the chance of hitting jackpot is because we know the casino makers or the guys who made the machines and the back end of the actual machine. The casino doesn't post any of these things. Of course. Right? And the casino doesn't have any rule saying, hey, like we can't readjust the progressive jackpot. So what happens is we're playing one day and then we took a little break and we come back. Like, so what that means is say the jackpot, you get 777s, for instance, it's supposed to be hit 1 out of 10,000 times. Correct. If how a progressive can become profitable is if say it's a dollar spin and the jackpot's going to be $10,000. So if the cycle's 10,000 hands, if the now progressive is $10,001 payout on jackpot, you're making money. Does it make sense what I'm saying? So like if you're supposed to hit the jackpot every 10,000 hands, but when you hit the jackpot, you're going to get paid more than $10,000 and it costs $1 to spin that machine, you'll make money when the jackpot is
I get the math.
So that's plus EV. So what happens is this machine, that's how the jackpot is supposed to be. They're supposed to be set at a certain number. We come in, we're playing, we're down like $700,000 and we've been playing
on slots?
Yeah, 3 straight days. and we passed like I don't know, 4 cycles, 4, 8. We're on our 12th cycle, and like I said, you're supposed to hit the cycle at one every time. Now there's variance that could happen, but this is like becoming very improbable to go 12 cycles without hitting a jackpot, and we were buried down 700,000. The jackpot now, the progressive was over $1 million. It was like 1.1 million this time.
How long does it take you to put $100 bills in?
Oh, so you
fucking
could
machine.
You could show up.
Are you kidding me, bro?
You could show up and deposit like 50,000 and get a ticket and just have the machine. Okay. So we even hired people to press the buttons for us. But then we left and we took a break and we came back and all the machines were resetting at one time, and they're supposed to be independent of one another.
So they're cheating.
Well, it's not necessarily cheating. Like, there's no rule saying, hey, like, just because we know the back end and stuff of the machines, there's no, like, rule written saying, hey, we can't adjust how often someone's going to hit the jackpot. So they're going to, like, what the casino's going to do, they're going to always make sure they have the best of it. Now, I don't think it's considered cheating. Like, there's nothing they did that's illegal. They never said, hey, the jackpot is 1 in 10. Like, you know what I mean? So we just stopped playing.
Okay.
But,
I get it.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense for a casino to cheat when they're just making so much money already, right?
I've heard you say you're a successful poker player.
Yeah.
I believe you.
Yeah.
I've heard you say you're a successful sportsbook player.
Yeah.
I believe you. I've heard you say you're a very successful gambler. I believe you.
Yeah.
If you tell me you're a professional slots player, I'm never going to believe you. Because I know the people who actually run that stuff, they call them one-armed bandits, bro.
Yeah.
You cannot be a professional slot player.
Well, slots,
no.
So progressive slot machines you can win.
Yes.
So a progressive slot, once the jackpot passes a certain number, you can actually become profitable. There's no skill in it. You just press a button. All you have to know is the back end math. I also can beat video poker machines. So like you go to Santa Fe Station casinos and they have 100.4% payouts. And there's actually apps on the phone and you could play. You could learn perfect strategy.
How can you survive with 104 payout?
100.4%. Because the truth is, like the casino wants to say, hey, we offer winning games. But no one knows how to play perfect strategy, so it's like no one's going to actually win.
So you need perfect strategy.
In order, you have to play perfect in order to win.
Genius.
Yes.
Okay, I get you.
My dad taught me that stuff when I was younger.
It's misleading.
Yeah.
Your dad, let's go back to him for a second. What percentage of your success is because you were around this stuff? And before I go into that, you have Del Curry, who was a great basketball player. And he had Stephen Curry, who is one of the best of all time. Again, a father and a son who was actually better because the father put him in that environment, gave him all his knowledge. Is this something your dad did? Just everything he knew about gambling gave you that huge edge when you were such a young person and you just went fucking to work?
So it's kind of fascinating. Is like the how do I explain it? I wouldn't say that like. I learned a lot of the mindset and what you got to do and not do when you're gambling. Like things that my father would do when he'd lose money or things like that and how he would take it on himself. I like realized his weaknesses and his flaws. And I would be like, okay, I'm not going to do this. And that's how I became so elite. So growing up around it, like I realized what you got to do, the do's and don'ts to be successful and not successful in this world. What's funny is doing business with my dad actually hasn't worked out so well for me. I told you about this progressive slot machine, lost $700,000 there. I bought a piece of him one time in a poker game and lost a few $100,000, and that's that. So I'm down $1 million doing business with my dad. So everything I've made actually has been on my own, and in this gambling world, me and my dad are completely unrelated. Like I do my stuff.
No. What I mean is the fact that you are so good at what you do, you basically learn from his mistakes.
Well, exactly, 100%. Okay. So seeing what my father did that helped him thrive and seeing what he did that helped him like not so much thrive and like his weaknesses is what I incorporate in my game and helped me for sure become like more successful.
Would you encourage most people to gamble?
Gamble, no.
No.
But
you don't gamble, you have an edge. That's the way you perceive it.
So one thing I do is so what happened with the circuit thing, I had all these people coming to me basically after this competition saying, yo, how do you refuse to like chop this $9 million? Like, what are you doing to have so much money? I was like, well, I sports bet. I play poker. And they're like, can you teach me? Like, I'm dead broke. So I was like, you know what? Why don't I come out and start helping these people? So that's what I've been doing lately. And
Let's hear it.
I started about a month ago and I've been releasing plays to people and I've basically been changing people's lives. I've have one guy turn 1,000 over 70K. I've met celebrities. I've made Offset over $4 million in this last month. I've made Rich the Kid $2.5 million. There's this one guy who's dead broke. His wife left him, and I basically made him enough money to get some lawyers so he could get his kids back.
Fuck you, bitch.
And yeah, screw her, right? But I've basically just been educating people and stuff on how to sports bet properly and teaching the people like bankroll management things. A lot of people, like for instance, Offset, right? We became very close friends. He's like, dude, I was gambling with this guy for years, and now I was cut off from my bookie. Like, I need another one. I was like, that's what happens when you keep beating lines and you're making money. Like, he's not going to want your action anymore. If you're winning money, he's going to cut you off. So I had to find a new bookie and things like that. So I started selling my plays and stuff on internet and kind of becoming a household name, I guess, in the sports world.
And you've been doing this for like a month, right?
A month, yeah.
Okay. So I've been doing what you're doing, obviously, at a much lesser level, but I'm one of the bigger names out there with selling picks as well. Now, the questions that people ask me when I sell picks is, if you're so good at this, why do you have to sell picks? This is something I hear all the time.
Okay.
What do you say to that?
So let's relate it to Mr. number 28, LeBron James over there.
Let's hear it.
If he's so good at playing basketball, why does he want to be paid top dollar to play basketball?
It's not exactly the same. So
well, it is because it's basically, it shows that you're worth something, right? So if you're going to do someone a favor, it's like, hey, like, I have a worth in this, right? And it's just like, I'm not here like whatever. So it's like LeBron, he is worth billions of dollars. Why does he need to be paid $20 million a year to go play basketball? It's just because, hey, I'm the best in the world. You pay me. That's what happens.
Capitalism, baby.
So yeah, I mean, people are gonna have to pay me for my services, and 100%. I'm gonna make the money in return.
Because if you want to make money off someone's back, that person is entitled to get some of that money that he makes you, correct?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, let's go to the next thing when people start selling picks. You're going to eventually have people who are going to start running around calling you a fraud because they went and bet with you on the wrong day. You're not going to win every day.
So that's one thing that I probably preach. So there are a lot of, like, called touts, people that sell picks, I guess, right? They're just like, oh, I have a guaranteed winner. Oh, I have a play that's never going to lose. I win 95% of race. Yes. None of that stuff exists. Long term, for me, for instance, I have a 6% edge in sports, like overall, which once again, Vegas was built on 2%. So if I'm winning at a 6% clip, you are going to get real rich real fast. So what that means is, though, I'm winning 56% of my games long term, right? As of lately, this last month, I haven't won maybe 70% of my games. So I'm
that's
running
unsustainable.
It's not sustainable. I'm running above average.
Okay,
but
that is something I want you to hear. You hear this guy? When you hear these guys in Vegas, and there's a lot of frauds out there saying
100%.
We're gonna win 100% of Vegas Dave. I'm fucking 100-0 on the Major League Baseball season. Some bullshit like that.
Absolutely.
As soon as I said 70% is unsustainable, he fucking said it too.
Yeah.
Because he's being honest with you.
Yeah.
Listen, I've been on great runs too. I start the NFL season, I'm something like 21-7, 75% against the line. That's unsustainable.
Yeah.
So what you have to understand is, as long as you're beating the NFL line, and by the way, that's the one that sells the best.
The NFL? Which, by the way, the NFL is the hardest sport to beat. So the bigger the market, that means the more analytics they're being put into it, and the bigger people are to bet, the smaller the edges. I have, for instance, in UFC, my UFC, I have a 16% ROI long term. So I'm crushing UFC. But once again, UFC is a smaller market, so it's harder to get down.
When it comes to selling picks, you just got into this. I promise you, NFL is always going to be, because everyone bets that shit.
Yeah.
You're going to have the people who are in the hockey every day, some people in the basketball every day, some people in the baseball. Baseball is great for betting. By the way, that's my favorite sport to bet. And the reason it's my favorite sport to bet is you got 15 fucking games every goddamn day.
Yeah.
You got goddamn double headers. You always can find something within there.
So I'm excited for baseball season because it's actually the easiest sport to bet because it's the most analytical. And I'm running numbers and things like that. So you have everything completely down to a science with baseball.
What sport is the hardest?
Well, like I said, the hardest sport to beat is NFL pro football. Because there's
you don't think it's NBA?
No, NBA is a smaller market than NBA, NFL, right? So it's like
a smaller market, but I'm just talking about consistently beating them against the line. Not calling winners,
you're going to beat every sport.
The lines.
So the thing that's nice is like in NBA, there's more the more stats there is in something, the easier it is to win. Right, so the lifelong expectancy of an NBA player is longer than lifelong expectancy of an NFL player. The amount of touches someone gets
much
in
more
NBA,
sport.
Yeah, like you have more analytics. Like baseball is very easy to beat because it's super analytical based, right? So the less analytical based, the less touches people have, things like that, is the harder it is to win. But that means is the harder something is to win, like the less cautious a casino is, and the more money to be made. And football, for instance, the reason why I love football is because you bet massive amounts of money because everyone loves to bet NFL. I'm firing millions of dollars a game. That's why even the circuit competition, I wasn't even excited when I could shot for $770K, because the truth is I'm betting more than $770,000 per game.
Let's go through a typical NFL week. There's about 14, 13 games.
Oh, I have action on absolutely everything.
Okay, you have action every single fucking game.
Yeah.
Are you betting overs and unders too?
Everything, yes.
Okay. Do you move lines? Do you buy points?
Never buying points. No, that's unless you want to make your account seem whaley. So I'll explain to you. When you buy a point through a sports book, you're paying 10 cents.
Correct.
Right? Or when you buy half a point. So what that means is you're going to say, hey, my team is +9. I want them to go to +9.5. You paid extra 10 cents. But the truth is that's minus EV, because half point is only worth 7 cents, maybe 8 cents, depending on what number it is. And actually, I'll teach you guys a way to determine your edge as well. So like each 2 cents is worth 1%. So say you have the Lakers +10, -106, meaning you have to bet $106 to win 100. But then the game will close +10, -108, right? So you have to bet $108 to win $100 on the Lakers. You beat that line by 2 cents. So those 2 cents, what you do is you'll divide it by 2, so you have 1, and you beat the closing line by 1%. But what you got to do is, in order to beat the closing line, you look at the middle. So what the middle means is, if say one side is +10 -0.08, and the other side is -10 -106, the middle is going to be +10 -10 +0.1.
I understand you.
Yeah,
I understand everything you're saying.
I'm trying to simplify it for the fans.
You're talking Klingon to these people,
yes,
bro.
I'm trying my best to simplify it.
Okay,
that's why they have us to do it for them, right?
Let's go back from the NBA buying a point. Let's talk about overs and unders on hockey.
Yeah.
You have a 5.5. And are you going to take that down to like 5 to make sure?
Never. These are one of the things that if you ever buying points is like somewhat bad, right? Now what you can do is to like make yourself look sharper. Like, so when people ask me to buy a point, I'm like in general like, nah, you shouldn't like just bet.
So even if the game is 3 and you want to buy that extra hook for 3.5, you're telling me never.
Well, some numbers are more valuable than others, right?
Okay, that's
so
what I was
if you can
for.
be from 2.5 to 3, like, and you only have to pay 10 cents, that's phenomenal, because that's worth like 17 cents, right?
Okay.
So
I'm just making sure there are exceptions to the rule.
There are exceptions, but when you bet through the sports books, they know these exceptions, so they're going to charge you, hey, instead if you want to buy from this half point, you have to pay 20 cents. Right, so the sports book in their eyes is always going to want the best of it.
Of course,
and that's what I mean. Like, once again, the casinos will always want the best of it, but that's where people like me come and play, and
the experts.
Yeah, exactly.
My personal opinion on this: if you're going to do straight bets, almost never. I'm going to say not never, but almost never buy points on straight bets. But if you're going to do a parlay, and you have something of +1,400, they can move down to +1,200 just because you're buying a few points here and there. On a parlay, it's worth for the insurance. On straight bets, I don't believe it is.
Well, I think on any bet it's not profitable, but
on parlays, it's not worth taking that hook to 3.5. I mean,
no, it's also like those people that, like, for instance, they bet an 18 parlay and they'll be on like one of these apps, right? And 7 teams hit, and they're like, you know what? Screw it, I'm buying out. I'm going to pay the VIG and just lock up my money. And I tell people, that's like the worst thing ever. If you were going to do that, like, only bet 7 teams. Don't bet 8 teams, because now you just paid double juice for no reason.
Do you ever hedge?
I would never, ever hedge unless I'm getting the best of it hedging. You understand?
Do you always straight bet? Because if you always straight bet, there's no point in hedging.
So parlaying is good because you could if you have an edge, right? So what I do is, like, casinos, like, so if your dog, your casino's getting the best of it, they love when you parlay, because in theory they're amplifying their odds. But now if I have the best of it and I parlay, I'm amplifying my odds even more. But the thing is, what I do is, because I'm getting so much down, I try to look for certain numbers and things like that, so it's hard to parlay. And I'm, in general, like, betting against businessmen or, like, in things, I'm more straight betting than parlaying.
Gotcha.
Now, I do release parlays every day and things like that for people that want to, which is also good. Like, any form of gambling that there is, I have an edge in.
When you do parlays and you give out parlays, what is the typical plus on a parlay you would give out?
So it just depends. Like, I could give out 3 teamers, 5 teamers. Now,
what's the difference between -500s and -150s in a parlay?
Oh, I'm never putting in big favorites and things like that. So
So minus 150s max with you?
Maybe max minus 300s and things like that. I'm basically, so what I'm doing is I'm putting in my shoes in the shoes of my consumer, and I'm trying to figure out, okay, like in general, where's your bankroll at and things like that, and what's best to optimize for them, right? So a lot of these people that are buying, they're trying to make it and things like that. It's hard for someone to come off the street and bet a minus 500. Right, like I would do it, but like someone who's like not in that situation is.
Would you straight bet a minus 500?
Absolutely,
really?
100%. Yeah.
You put $1 million down
to win 200,000. Yeah, 100%.
You would really do that?
Yeah. You know what's funny? Actually, one of the biggest bets I've ever made in my life was one of my sharps told me I bet on the elections, and my mom is a diehard Republican. My family is very Republican and things like that. And me, I'm just a free person. Whatever happens. Like I know that my vote isn't going to matter, right? So I don't like stress over politics or things like that, and I just go with the flow. And
so
I live in a.
There's any difference between Trump and Biden?
Well, there is, but like, why am I going to take? So one thing is, I'm very focused on myself. Like, why waste my time and energy to worry about what's going on in the outside world when I have no impact on it?
It does impact you to a point. You can say it's minimal.
Well, it's very minimal, and the amount of time I could spend there, I could just spend working and making more money. Right? Gotcha. So it's like, hey, why don't go vote? You have impact. Oh, the truth is, I could have a bigger impact. Instead of wasting the hour to go work, I could just go vote. I could just make an hour, work for an hour, make a bunch of money, and donate that money to charity. That hour I made, and have a bigger impact on the world than me voting one time. But I made my biggest bet ever. I bet over 90% of my net worth on Biden to become president. Because my friend was like, yo, I'm looking at these numbers, and Biden's just going to win off the pre-polls and things like that. It's over, you know what I mean? Before election. Like, you could actually figure out who's winning elections before things even happen. And it's crazy.
A lot of those same people said Hillary Clinton in 2016, though.
Well, they probably were on the wrong side. And I was too young to be gambling at that point. So that's at the point. But so Biden, what's happened is comes, and I bet 90% of my net worth on him. And
would you bet 90% of your net worth on him now?
If I'm given the right analytics and told by the right person, this
is a pure-blooded capitalist right here. He don't give a fuck.
No, I'm about making money 100%, and I wanted to get the best of it. And so what happened was he's like, "Yo, this guy's gonna win," and so I bet him at minus 200. So meaning I had to bet $200 to win 100, right? And I'm just there, and the night of election, I'm calling my mom. I go, Mom, I just want to let you know, she's my number one supporter. I go, I have every dollar right now on Biden to become president. And she starts crying. She goes, how dare you fucking bet against Trump? He's the greatest thing ever. This is like the kind of person that gambles with like intuition or instincts and has emotion. Like, I'm very emotionless when it comes to this stuff. I'm purely just want the best of it and try to make money. And so what happens is, she's like, I hope you lose and take this as a learning lesson. I'm like, Mom, if the president of North Korea, who's known as the most evil person in the world, was running for presidency right now of our country, and I bet this amount of money, you better be praying that he becomes our president, because we could just take our money and move to the next best country. Like, that's the way I live in America right now, because I think it's the best place in the world. So if
what's the next stop, Macau?
Nah, I mean, I like Dubai a lot.
Dubai?
But Dubai is a great place.
They have gambling like this in Dubai?
Massive gambling, actually.
Sports gambling too?
Well, so gambling's illegal in Dubai.
That's what I'm saying.
But all the money is in Dubai, and they have massive underground poker games there. Yes, 100%. That I've never personally partook in.
We never partake in anything illegal.
So so like what happens is the night of the election comes, and Biden goes from like minus 200, which means he was 200 whatever, to now you can get him at like plus 500. It's like, I'm just like, what the heck is happening here? Like, he's losing, and I'm calling my friend. He's like, no, bro, this doesn't make sense. Like, he's still winning. Like, I don't know why the number's like this. Like, bet more. I was like, dude, I bet every dollar I can get my hands on right now. I don't have more money to bet. And it turns out Biden ended up winning, and so I was happy. But at that point,
a lot of people say that was fixed.
I mean, it could be, and that might be why.
And you don't give a fuck because you still got your money.
I'm on the right side.
I got you, brother.
So I'm not sitting here saying the reason why, but for me to bet, like, I never advise to bet 90% on absolutely anything in your life ever, right? There's this model
no eggs in one basket.
So there's this model called the Kelly criterion model, and basically what that is, it determines like the optimal way to achieve richness. Like, if you want to become as rich as possible, you study the Kelly criterion model and you figure out how to become the richest most optimally. And like basically there's like things like this. For instance, say you have like a 70% edge, or I'm just giving hypotheticals, it'll tell you to bet like 50% of your net worth. Like it's very aggressive, right? But if you have like a 3% edge on something, you bet like 3% of your net worth, or like a 10% edge on something, you bet like 13% of your worth, and things like this. And it's the way, and if you lose, you keep adjusting your number. And the Kelly criterion model, if anyone wants to learn like proper bankroll management, things like that, you assess what your edge is on something, and then put in the system, formula, and you follow it. And that's how you achieve optimal net worth without ever going
Mark
broke.
Cuban told me if you believe in something, all fucking in.
I mean, I guarantee if you sat Mark Cuban right here and I put him the test and said, hey, would you believe this team's going to win? And he'd be like, yeah, go all in, buddy. He'll tell you, no, that's not what I meant by it.
I can assure you. I'll show you the emails.
But what he means is probably more so is like, hey, if you believe in something, go all in it. Like, put all your efforts.
No, I actually told him he should open up a sports, basically, you're allowed now to basically open in the casinos, and you can have people invest in you like a sports betting hedge fund. Okay. I told him he should open up a sports betting hedge fund and stuff like that. And we got back and forth and stuff like that. And basically, he basically said, if you believe what I'm saying 100%, go all in. And if you go all in and your all in wins, then I'm going to do what you do. So he basically,
so
this is what he challenges people with. He's like, if you believe in what the fuck you're saying, go all the fuck in, and if it works out, then we can talk.
Yeah, so I like that mentality. Like me, I believed in gambling. I dropped everything I was doing. I mean, I was good at it, but a short term I was good at it. I put all my efforts into it. Wake up to sleep. That's all I did. I watched, studied poker nonstop.
Give us a typical day. You're waking up. What are you doing?
I'll give you an example. There was a period in my life where I was during COVID, right? I'll tell you how my work ethic in life. During COVID, I was playing online poker in these private games with massive celebrities and things like that on my phone app. I went 9 straight months without seeing sunlight a single time. I would cry every single day in back pain from not moving and working so much. But I did not quit because I was making so much, and I was like, I will be here till the day I die. Or whenever this ends.
Video poker?
I was playing online poker.
Did you actually have you didn't move?
I gained 45 pounds in 9 months. Didn't see sunlight one time. Whatever. I would wake up every single day at 8 a.m. and play online poker up until 4 a.m. So 20 straight hours. 20 straight hours, and then I would set an alarm on my phone 5 a.m., 6 a.m., 7 a.m. to wake up every hour in case there was a poker game playing. Non-stop I would play. I did not leave my house one time in 9 months. And that's what he means. When you believe in something, you go all in, right? So I knew I was making money, and I went all in. That's always what I've done. In anything I've ever done in my life, I have that mentality. I'm going to outwork anyone and ever in my life. I was in Dubai one time. I'm telling people stories, and I met with this billionaire, and he believes in, okay, well, a way to challenge yourself and see if you're actually mentally strong, like you say you are, is the ice bath. So it was my first time entering this cold plunge. And I'm like, dude, I don't want to get in this fucking thing. It's not meant for me. It's cold. I don't believe in this challenge. I don't see it. He's like, if you think you're mentally strong, this is how you prove it. I get in the water, and I'm just telling him whatever. I'm not a big fan. And I basically get in this water. I experienced the hypothermia. By the way, the water was covered in ice completely. There's 200 pounds of ice in it. And I just get in. First time ever exposed to the cold plunge. And at the 18-minute mark, I experienced hypothermia. And I still wasn't quitting. And I was in there 22 minutes until he had to pull me out because he didn't know if it was safe or not anymore for me to be in there. Because people that get that long, basically, you have to know. So you were
stubborn motherfuckers.
I was basically in there to prepare to die. I was the first person that he's ever had to actually personally remove from the cold water. And he does it every single day. He does it for thousands of people. He's actually a billionaire, and it's one of the ways that he deemed his success is I'm able to separate my mind from my body, and if you could do that, you could push yourself beyond any measure in anything in life, and he uses it to business. So I basically proved him correct that I am mentally stronger than anyone he's ever met, and I've always believed that, and I've actually been basically paralyzed for 6 months before because I used to go to the gym, and there was this guy in the Navy SEALs that thought he was mentally the strongest person he ever met. So we'd go to head-to-head every single day for 4 straight hours. I mean, he was lifting more than me and things like that. But I would go hard, and then I would stay an extra 2 hours after him. And I would keep going every single day to where I couldn't walk anymore. And after 6 months...
David Goggins, too.
Yeah, I couldn't move. I was literally bedridden for 6 straight months. And I had to start doing dry needling, all the things, and fascia manipulation. Now my fascia is super messed up. I can't even lift the weight. I have to swim and stuff to push myself because I've pushed myself too hard and things.
At least you're in the right place of the country.
But yeah, the swimming out here is really nice. I was at some pool today, and I was swimming like overlooking the ocean. It was like beautiful. It's incredible. But,
how do people find you? What is your website if they want to?
So if they want to,
because obviously you know what the fuck you're doing. So if people want to jump on your bandwagon, how do they do that?
So you go to my Instagram at Sean Perry Wins, and you just click the link in the bio, and it's actually very simple. You don't have to know anything about sports betting whatsoever. You just follow the link. I send you the play, and you just download any app of your choice, and you just basically, if I say bet Clippers +7, you bet Clippers +7, and long term you will make money.
Okay, let me ask you this: you send in the line that says Clippers +7.
Yeah.
The line's changed. Oh, they can get a 6.5. What do they do?
So in general, like I have a 6% edge. So if I'm saying +7, it'd still be profitable at +6.5.
So you would still tell that person to make that bet?
It just depends on the bet. So they'll private message me, and the line will move. I'll be like, sometimes bet this, sometimes don't bet it. But I do have, like, this is a supply and demand thing, right? So as demand increases, supply obviously decreases. That's based on the rule of economy. So I have different levels of packages where like people can get in earlier than others depending on how much they're betting and how much they're paying and how big of an edge they want. But if anyone ever messaged me and saying, yo, this is the current line, I'll be like, yo, there's no edge here, you missed out. And I would either refund them the money for the day or whatever it may be. But I'm trying my best to like make sure everyone is making money.
Okay.
Long term.
Let me give you a situation. You send out a 3-team parlay.
Yeah.
Okay. It's +350.
Yeah.
Okay. First 2 teams hit.
Okay.
Okay.
And people ask to hedge, right?
People are asking you, do I hedge?
Yeah.
Are you telling them, okay, yes, no? And if you do tell them to hedge, are you telling them to hedge to the point where they can make a little money no matter what happens? Or are you just trying to cover a bet?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
So I tell everyone, first of all, you never want to make a bet that you can't afford to gamble with, right? So if someone's like, I'm trying to go all in on this play, I always tell them, I advise you heavily not to do this, right?
I second that.
Like long term, you just want to get the best of it. So when you hedge, I always tell people never hedge because you're paying double juice by hedging. That's why the casino offers it. So what that means is I bet at +3, like I bet team 1 I pay juice, I bet team 2 I pay juice, and I bet team 3 I pay juice, and I combine all those 3 teams, and that's what creates the parlay.
Correct.
Right? So if I'm going to hedge after my first 2 bets hit, what that means is I'm trying to cancel my 3rd bet. So I paid juice originally to bet team 3. Now I'm going to pay extra juice to take away team 3, so I'm double paying juice.
But hold on a second. If that 3rd team loses, you win nothing.
Yeah, if you were worried about the sizing, you should just bet smaller. You were betting too big if you need a hedge. That's what I tell people. You should never, ever want to hedge.
I mean, I'm looking at this.
Now, in the Circa competition, it was different. Like, I get why people wanted to chop because they turned 1K into 770,000.
I get it.
Right? But that's why I'm like, yo, I can. So hedging is good if you can't.
Well, does the size of the parlay at least matter with you?
Well, if it's a number that basically, this is how I advise people. If you have a 15-teamer and you hit 14 legs and like, oh, this is life-changing money, I just tell them, okay, it makes sense to hedge. Like, yes, you're taking the worst of it here, but because like you want to lock up the money for your bankroll and things like that, but you're not getting the best of it by hedging. But like life-wise, you're getting the best because now you're gonna have a bankroll, things like that, right? Or you could pay your rent or whatever it may be that your position you're in. But I always just advise, if it ever comes to the point where you think you have to hedge, that means you were betting too big. Well, beforehand.
I mean, okay, I'm just gonna, give a few examples. I've been in Vegas. I'm pulling 6-figure numbers, betting this and that. I've had days where I put in like a 5-team parlay for about 5,000.
Yeah.
I'm on my last team. You best believe I'm fucking hedging that shit. Not only that, I'm going to hedge it to the point where I don't give a fuck who wins anymore because I'm winning money. No matter what happens, I'm winning money.
So then let me ask you.
You could only do that with parlays, though.
So why not just make it a 4-team parlay?
You don't know what team's going to lose or not. How are you supposed to know that, bro?
Well, if you're waiting on the 15, right? It means
you don't know you're going to wait on the 15 when you put in that parlay.
The 15 would be the latest game to start.
Correct, but you don't know that in the beginning.
Well, you just know that, hey, if you know that going in, if my first four, say game starts 10, 2, 4, 6, and 8, right? Okay. So there's your 5 teams. If you know that by the time those first 4 games hit and before the 8 o'clock game starts, you're going to hedge, just don't bet that 5th team. Because now you're paying double juice for no reason.
Okay,
you understand what I'm saying?
I understand what.
So if you know you're going to hedge after you hit your first 4 teams,
you don't know you're going to hedge. That's the whole point.
Oh, now you're degenerating. You know what I mean? Like everything I'm doing is more.
No. You just have to have contingency plans. Everything's got to be on the table.
What do you mean?
If you have a 5-teamer, and again, taking all bankroll aside and
Yeah.
everything like that, say that last game is going to start right 5 minutes after that last game starts, or there's like, you don't know if you're going to be able to make that bet right before, because, a minute here, a minute there before maybe a team goes into overtime. You don't know what's going to happen. I see a lot of ways where you can hedge, and basically it's the right play at that particular moment in time. I think you have such a big bankroll and you don't give a fuck, and you believe in yourself so much, you probably think it's offensive to hedge.
Well, I just think by hedging, you're paying juice.
If you look at it from the starting point, but we're not here anymore. We're here.
Yeah.
So I think it's when you start looking.
But you only got to that point because at the starting point you made a 5-teamer instead of making a 4-teamer.
Correct, but you don't know when this last game's going to go to overtime. If not, so you can't really make. There's contingencies.
So basically, like I said, I never bet above my bankroll. So I will never ever hedge anything unless my bankroll needs it. But I don't ever put myself in that, because one thing I take pride. I've never gone broke. And so that means I'm never gambling money that...
What was your biggest loss?
In a day? I mean, just alone the other day, I lost $4 million on a single game in the Super Bowl.
And that's not going to hurt you one bit whatsoever.
Another day in the life. I one time was on a super yacht gambling with billionaires and lost $6 million in 2 days of playing poker.
Do you lose any sleep?
No,
because
it's frustrating.
Listen,
so like
Johnny over here will lose fucking $500. He won't be able to sleep at night. Another guy loses $5,000. He don't give a fuck. Me, I've been gambling for 10 years. If I lose 10, 20, I don't care. But if I lose $500,000, yeah, I might have a little issue.
So what I do is, like, obviously you just kind of have to separate yourself, and that's what makes me elite from the rest. Like all the people at the top of the world, like in the gambling world, like the reason why they're elite is they don't let the results affect them. I try to differentiate my actual gambling from my real life, and I try to keep my brain super sharp. I'm waking up, I'm watching sunrise every morning, I'm grounding myself every day, I'm eating like all organic, I drink 0 alcohol, I do 0 drugs, I red light therapy every day. I'm like big into like being healthy and things like that. I'm trying to keep my mind as sharp as possible. But yes, like my when I did a special blood work test, like my stress levels are through the roof. Right? I mean, it just happens. Like, I'm gambling for a living. It's a stressful job, but you try your best to deviate and try not to let. And one thing I've completely advised is never gamble on tilt. So if you're frustrated or you're chasing things, that's not the time to gamble, because that's when you're making bad decisions. You want to gamble, like you said, when your mind's clear and when you're like birthdays, because you're thinking like you're going to win, or you're in that mentality. That's when you want to be gambling.
All I can tell you is, if you think you're going to be a big time gambler, especially with your stakes, and you're going to get around stress, brother, it's not going to happen.
No, I think
sure. Gambling put fucking these gray hairs on my ass, and they're coming for you too at this point.
Well, so far I've done an inner age test, so I'm 27 years old, and my inner body I'm 18 years old. So even though I've been in the gambling world, I've done a lot of things to stay healthy and younger than I actually am. If I had my phones there, I could show you. It's actually pretty impressive. I'm trying to live to 150 years old. That's one of the goals of my life.
Would you bet on it?
I gamble on anything. So there's actually funny, like I know this person who bet $500,000 on his child being a boy or a girl. And if someone came to me and said, hey, I want to bet on my kid being a boy or girl, I would say, I'll give you action. I'll pick a girl. A girl's, I think it's like 1 or 2% more likely to be a girl than a boy. So I'd take the girl all day, any day.
Okay,
so
let's say it's a family where it's all boys.
It's kind of irrelevant.
Does that make any difference?
No, I don't think it does.
Okay.
That's kind of irrelevant, right?
They're
just like this.
And
you can gamble on absolutely any single thing in this world, and that's something I've done. My biggest bet I've ever made was on the presidential election. I've one time. I've gambled on completely outrageous things that you couldn't even think of. But
tell us the 3 craziest things besides the election thing you gambled on.
Let's think. I one time bet. So you don't want to know what's funny when you talked about, hey, when you gamble against people and you purposely lose, so they think you're an idiot. So I was in which country was I in? I'm in Cyprus. So it's a legal island, basically, where off of Greece.
Russian mob
and
control.
yeah, so the Russians are allowed there, so you can gamble massive there. The Russians are allowed, the Chinese are there, and you go and you basically gamble on a piece of paper, and then afterwards they send you the money. No documents, nothing. And there's a guy who was a billionaire, he's in the tournament. He actually made the tournament structure, and I bet against him on the tournament structure, knowing he was right. So I bet my $50,000 to his $10,000, by the way. So I gave him 5-1 on his money that he was stating the wrong thing about the tournament structure when he was the guy who made it. So I purposely knew I was going to lose this bet, right? So I'm going to basically give him $50,000 here in a bet, and he's going to think I'm an idiot, and I'm going to go play cash games with him afterwards and beat him for over $1 million. So that's a time that I just gave away $50,000.
You're straight up manipulating people.
Yeah, 100%. You just got to create an image. But
you know what people? you know what people born in the year of the rat are best at? Manipulation.
Yeah,
that's their secret power.
Another thing I recently just gambled on, I'll tell the story because it's fresh. Starting last week, I have a very good friend of mine. He has this girlfriend that's very bad for him and talks, and he calls me and goes, dude, I need to get over her. Like, she's ruining my life, like, causing a bunch of stress, whatever. And I was like, all right, man, like, let's make a bet. Like, I'll bet you. I basically bet him $50,000 that he won't sleep with that girl for the rest of the year. So now if he sleeps with her, I prepaid him too. So I gave him the $50,000 saying, yo, if you sleep with this girl now, you owe me back $100,000. So I made a $50,000 bet on one of my good friends to not sleep with his now ex-girlfriend for the rest of the year because she's very bad for him and his life.
So you basically gave your boy some incentive.
I'm trying to give my friend $50,000 to not be with this girl because she's bad for him. And he called me. He's the one that wanted it. And he's my friend, and so I obviously want the best for him. So that's just something I'm gambling on just in everyday life. He's also a gambler.
Seems like you gamble more than Dana White.
Well, Dana White definitely he likes to gamble too. But I'm in action every single day. But Dana White is a lifelong loser gambling. Yeah, obviously he's over there playing blackjack every single day, not getting the best of it at the Red Rock. But I'll meet him pretty soon and hopefully teach him a thing or two.
UFC, I think 299's here in a few weeks.
Oh, here in Florida?
Yeah, Miami.
So UFC is my biggest edge sport. But one thing you'll realize is I actually don't even watch the sporting events.
I don't either.
Yeah,
I don't watch any of these. I don't watch any of these sporting events because I don't want to be like basically influenced by what the commentators say or anything like that. I just want the raw numbers. I think me and you might be looking at a little different numbers, but we're basically looking at raw numbers. Like what you're doing is absolutely mind-boggling. Okay. I'm basically, doing a few parlays a day. You're betting every fucking game, bro, and over and under. Well, that's insane.
Anything there is to gamble on, I have action for sure.
What were you doing during COVID? Japanese baseball, because that's when I started betting Korean baseball.
So you want to hear
Japanese baseball? Tell me about the COVID.
So I don't know. There was I was gambling against this one billionaire one time. And
how many billionaires do you know, bro? Because I know about 30, and it seems like you know more than me.
Well, it's because I'm in that world through poker and things like that. That's why all the sharpest handicappers in the world are working under me, because I have all the outs and things like that. I'm connected. I'm very well
So anyone
connected.
who's actually really good, who was your competition, you basically said, yo, fuck all of this, come under my wing.
Well, it's not necessarily a competition, but it's like, hey, people are making money. I'm also making money, right? Like, it is competitive and whatnot. But yeah, I provide people that were making like maybe a $500,000 a year. I said, hey, come work under me. And I have a team of other people that are really good. Let's combine all our knowledge, build a super team, and we'll beat everyone else.
What do you think? Let me just put some names out there. What do you think about guys like Vegas Dave?
Man, if you have some money, show up. Let's post money, and we'll fire against each other until no one has any more money. But basically, that guy. So
Steve Stevens.
All these guys are. So none of these guys came from the real world of gambling. They just started marketing and selling sports plays. And Vegas Dave hit like 2 bets that were futures or whatever, and ran with it, right? And if he really thinks he's a winning gambler, I'm happy to go head-to-head, buddy, and we fire $1 million a game. I mean, we would have to post money from somewhere until someone has no more money.
Accounts?
Yeah, absolutely. But I'm very confident. Like, I heard stories of this guy. He fires 2 sides. And anyone that's going to come out saying, oh, I win 100% of my games, or I went 90-2, it doesn't exist.
I saw emails that someone got from him. He said he won maybe it was 123 or 132 baseball games in a row.
Yeah, he'll guarantee he'll win. Listen, the guy.
What?
That guy's a clear fraud. But I mean, it just goes to fact. Go to his social media page. He has his comments turned off. I'm fully transparent. I'm one of the only touts out there that have every one of my comments turned on. Like have nothing to hide. I keep everything as real as possible.
Steve Stevens.
I don't know who that. He's another tout.
Yeah.
Phony, obviously. I mean, listen, I'm putting this challenge, any town out there, if you want to come and put your money where your mouth is, we go $1 million a game head to head, post money in escrow. I'm known to gamble absolutely massive. Show up with the money and let's bet. I would love it. Like, I'm looking for more.
I would have took your Super Bowl bet if I was on the Chiefs.
What's up? I would have loved to take it, but I got a sick line. So your line was probably like, I got -1.5. So once again,
you got -1.5 in 49ers?
Yeah. So you probably got +2, right?
Yes.
So we wouldn't have been able to get betting extra, because one thing to do is I'm always getting good lines too. So I'm on the right side. Yes.
Chiefs money line. And my thinking was very simply.
So I actually bet.
See, because I have like a guy like you who's always in my ear telling me, yo, everyone's betting the Chiefs. Everyone's betting the Chiefs. The Vegas is like fucking only lost twice in 30 times before this. The 49ers. I'm looking at it as the NFL is all about money.
Yeah.
And they want a whole bunch of new fans. They want a new fan base. And I'm thinking if the Chiefs go down early, that's a perfect sign that they're going to win the game, because they want them to worry that their Swifties they're gonna lose their team, and all of a sudden this team comes back, and all of a sudden now you have millions and millions of Taylor Swift fans who are now involved in the NFL. So that was the main reason I thought the Chiefs would actually win, because they can make more money off these dumb Swiftie fans than they can actually off the books. That was my only reason numerology reasons as well, but that's my only logical reason to bet the other way, because I'm looking at the money. I got people who are bookies, and they fucking say, yo, everyone's betting this way, I'm betting the other. I know the game.
You ready to be mind fucked?
I get it.
So the same way you told me, why would the casino ever cheat when they don't need to cheat?
Yes.
Why would the NFL cheat? They don't need to cheat. They're making a lot of money already. Now, the thing is...
Wait, if they cheated and they let the Chiefs win, they have a whole bunch of new Swiftie fans.
Casinos...
If the San Francisco wins, those Swiftie fans are pissed off. They're not watching football again.
It's the same to your casino thing. The casino could cheat too. They can make way more money.
Right. If you're looking at NFL revenue compared to one football game, I believe the NFL revenue is going to go a lot higher than
1,000%.
football game.
But another thing to realize, every single person was thinking this exact thing. So when the sports books come out, what does that mean they're going to do? They're just, all the sports book is trying to do is balance the action on both ways, right? So they know this is going to happen.
They want the middle.
This is why all the sharps were on the 49ers, because they know this is going to happen, so they're just trying to balance it out and cut their losses.
90% of the time,
one thing you're going to do is, in general, when you're betting on sports, you should always go with, because the refs, in theory, are controlled not by the NFL. They're more controlled by the sports books.
That's why they have pinstripes, right?
Over a long period of time, in general, the casinos, in theory, if you look at records and stuff, which like you said, 30-2 or whatever it may be, on which team the NFL, like the sports books needed to win to make money, they're almost always winning. And yeah, that's all I have to say about that.
My claim to fame in sports was 2016. The Warriors were up 3-1 in the NBA Finals against the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Yeah.
And I went on the Cleveland News radio station, and I said the Cleveland Cavaliers are coming back. They're going to win the NBA Finals. And after that happened, and I called the biggest upset in NBA history, then I started building the sports and stuff like that. But
you've been crushing ever since?
Well, here's the thing. When it comes down to big games, I won 4 Super Bowls in a row. I had a streak of 10 NBA Finals in a row. When it comes to the main game, I'm hitting that.
So I should ask you.
85% of that. Well, you seem like you're doing good enough without asking me. So again, you're way on a way different level with games.
Well, I did just lose $4 million in the Super Bowl, and you're what are you, 5 in a row, 6 in a row?
But what the fuck did I win on the Super Bowl? Fucking $60K. So
I mean,
again,
it's $4,060,000 more than I did.
And again, so here's what I'm basically trying to say. When it comes to big games, I'm hitting those every fucking time, except the 15% when I lose. But other than that, I hit them all the time. But on an everyday basis, I'm more interested in parlays. I'm not interested in fucking betting at -110. That doesn't interest me at all. I want to bet parlays.
Yeah, 100%.
So, I want plus money every fucking time. I like the prop bets, not on players, but like the reverse run lines. Or, if you're real sharp at football, William Hill used to have those reverse lines, like say the Patriots, the real line was they're they're a -7. So you do the reverse line, now they're -7, like 13.5. And a whole bunch of things. Like, I like those type of things that give you odds.
100%.
So before we wrap this up, let me ask you something about you personally.
Yeah.
Are you married? Do you have kids?
None of that. I wish I was.
Do you believe someone who is married and has kids can live your lifestyle?
Absolutely, yeah. Well,
Okay, 'cause
absolutely.
I do.
They have probably a better advantage, right? Because they're more disciplined. My dream actually in life is to be a dad and my kid's sports coach. I don't want to always be working. I've made the money.
What's enough money for you to retire? Because it seems like you have 8 figures already.
Yeah, I've kind of hit exactly. That's why I came out and like I make less money giving out my plays than I do betting my own plays now.
Do you worry that if you're giving out this many winners and you're not like me where, some people know about, I have 100,000, 200 people know about me.
Yeah.
Millions know about you and your sports betting. Are you worried that they're going to see, he's putting everyone on this team. There's a lot of money on this yada yada team. Let's fuck this game up and make sure he loses. Do you ever worry about that?
No, definitely not.
So if
I'm so small compared to like my goal in life is to
what you were small 40 days ago. What happens in fucking 3-4 months? 10,000 people a day are betting the same team you are.
When that comes, it means I've made a lot of people a lot of money, right? So if I start realizing that for some reason my models are not winning and there's something going on, I'll factor that into my algorithms, things like that. One thing that I do is I'm not a stationary person. I'm consistently adapting to what is happening. Like I will, depending on what is going on in any environment, I'm going to make sure I have the best of it. So if they're going to go opposite, I could set up things where I pump fake people. Like I've done it a lot of times. So, I have basically a curveball for anyone that wants to come at me and think they can beat me in anything. So
you'll throw a psyop out there
we'll figure some things out. So, I'm not necessarily worried about any curveballs that come my way because I have a thing or trick or what's the saying? I have a trick or two up my sleeve.
What do you want people to know about you besides I'm a fucking successful gambler? What else do you want people to know about you?
My goal is I've kind of achieved all the success I've wanted in the gambling world, and now I'm here trying to help you guys do the same. And it's very humbling and fulfilling that I'm hearing stories of people that have, like, for instance, one guy's turned 1,000 to 70K, and I've changed his life. Helped pay people's rents. I helped save people's marriages. I helped one guy make enough money to afford a lawyer to get his kids back from his evil wife and over child support. So, like, hearing stories like this and helping change people's lives is what I'm here to do.
How do people reach out to you and find you again?
Sean Perry Wins on Instagram, and link in bio if you want to follow the plays and join the team. And I have a saying that I always do after we have a winning day. And I know, like, I used to, before I dropped out of school, I was in ROTC. And so I got this like hoorah chant going. So whenever I have a big day, I go, hoorah, baby. And that's my go-to saying. So I hope to hear a lot of hoorahs from you guys. And it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much for having me on this podcast.
You feel comfortable in this environment?
How do you feel like? Do you think I felt comfortable?
I think that you have a little nervous energy.
Okay.
But I think you're confident as fuck. So most people won't be able to fucking see it. So it is what it is.
Yeah.
Anyways, listen. I fucking brought you Barack Obama's brother. I brought you some of the fucking biggest influencers in the world. And today I'm a fucking gambler.
Yeah.
I'm considered one of the biggest gamblers there is. And this guy fucking puts me to shame. So when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, remember this. Find something you're good at, use it as an edge, and take advantage. Agreed?
Preach, buddy, preach.
This has been a GG33 production.